Futures pointing to modestly higher open coming up here this morning as we get CPI data just out from November. Both the month-over-month and year-over-year numbers basically in line with expectations. I can show you here 0.8% on the month-over-month, so slightly higher than 0.7 expected. 6.8 year-over-year for November there. So again, basically in line on that CPI inflation number. Big number expected this morning for both. Some people talking above 7, some people talking even higher than that as we head towards the open here. Guys, we'll bring in Neil maybe as we figure out some audio issues here, guys.
Yes, sir. We just had the markets move slightly to the upside. I mean, Oracle was already breaking out, and an inline number. Obviously, everyone was expecting doom and gloom. I think we were talking a bit about this in the chat earlier. An inline number is going to be relatively good news because people were saying things like year over 7. I heard people saying things like 9. Obviously, that's gigantic. These are still somewhat historical inflation numbers, but at the end of the day, it does come down to these expectations. So you are seeing a slight bump here in the NASDAQ. The ES also you're running a little bit here. I mean, only up like 10 points since the number came out, but I think the story here is that everyone expected that this was going to be a bad print and be wildly past expectations. That could have led to next week. Of course, there being that when the Fed meets, that could have led to them accelerating the taper, which they still might do, obviously, but so far, so good.
All right, Arun is in the building today. Sean off today and Monday. Arun is dealing with some internet issues. We're sorry, guys. He's going to be logging in, getting set. We'll give him a minute here before we get to Arun. But yeah, so in line, which, as Neil was saying there, I hope everyone can hear me okay. As Neil was saying there, to be expected, or a little bit better than expected, is the inline reading. So we'll see what the market reaction is overall. Pretty positive at this point. If we get any follow through remains to be seen. All three U.S. markets, remember yesterday coming off a bit of a mix showing, mostly lower by the end of the session. But after the week we've had, I mean, we're still nicely higher right across the board for the week. All three U.S. markets looking to close out a positive week. Again, any kind of higher inflation reading might have kind of tipped off the Fed to speed up their tapering of their bond buying, which we'll discuss as well. Oracle, big mover this morning, back to the upside. Southwest, LOVE to the downside, dragging down some of the airlines as well on a downgrade today. We'll talk about some of the airlines. Goldman Sachs with a negative note on them. Lulu on the move, and C3AI picking up a big contract and picking up a big move this morning. It's Friday, December 10th, 2021. TraderTV.live starts now. There we go. Look at, some positive numbers getting bigger even right across the board as we speak here. A nice look for the overall market. 0.6 for the S&P, a quarter of a point for the Dow, the NASDAQ about 0.5%. Everything right across the board, nicely positive. Even Bitcoin had a move on that. Now 3% to the upside for Bitcoin. It was interesting. Bitcoin down when we had that discussion back on Tuesday, pointing to higher inflation. Now back to the upside. So a nice move. For all of these markets, it's Friday morning. Hi, guys. We're fine. Don't worry. That's inflation number. If you missed it, guys, both kind of in line on the month-over-month and year-over-year numbers. Arun is in for Sean today and on Monday. Should be an interesting Friday, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said there, I wanted to show, come on, Binance. Someone was telling me I should just switch to TradingView to show you guys when I'm looking at charts, but I don't know. I already have Binance up here. But yeah, crypto bounce here. Every single time there's been another talk of the Evergrande, default or whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, you had another negative push downside when they missed another payment, and of course now they are definitely in default for sure. But I think the bigger notion is that dragging down the market at the same time, and when crypto has been crashing, so a nice little bounce here. It's not going to be as big as we're seeing, now up like 20 points here on the ES. And look, sometimes it can be a bad print. Because like obviously like we're saying here, that this is a good number. It was year over year, like 6.8 inflation is not necessarily a good thing. But at the end of the day, expectations are what matter. It's like how guidance matters sometimes a little bit more than what your actual earnings are. And it's just, what do you think about the future? What are the expectations? And if you meet those expectations, in the particular case, this is one where everything I read was saying that this was going to be, much above 7, and people had these ridiculous estimates out there that it could be even worse than that. So I think this is a good sign for us. I was definitely fearful it could get out of hand. My finger was on the trigger, expecting that possible doom and gloom on Oracle at 100, and now I'm kind of looking at Coinbase because 50,000 is going to be in play. So I'd love to be able to, there's no volume on Coinbase, kind of weird. I'd love to be able to trade some Coinbase today. We've been staying away from it a bit, but if we can catch a breakout at 50,000, that'd be pretty key. I think we can express that in Coinbase here. Arun, that is, I'll tell you right now, a masterful job of getting set up because I want to say it was 8:27 when that PC got internet. And you look locked and loaded, ready to go, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know what Sean does on this computer, but man, it was not working. Every time I decide to sit down, there's always an issue of some sort. So here we are set up and ready to go. I'm just looking for some stocks. Futures-wise, man, this market is taking off to the upside. The thing I want to mention, though, is that contracts have rolled over. So technically speaking, we should be front month-wise, the March contract, the H22 contract, on the future side, that's the primary contract, but volume hasn't fully switched over. So for today, I will be trading the December contract, which expires next week. For anyone who's following the futures, that's what I'm looking at for now. As the day goes on, volume might change, and you might see me in the afternoon show switch over in contracts to the March contract. So for now, though, we are looking at the December contract, and it is absolutely taking off. 47.02, look at that move, from 82 to 47.02, 20-point move now in the futures as we go near the highs of the last 2 days or so. We're approaching not all-time highs, but at least a range highs. And if we take the range, which I've been calling for 47.15, if we take that range, there definitely will be a trade to be made there. But for now, we'll just find some other stocks to work with and wait on these futures.
Yeah, huge move. Very, very strong right now. Wow, like we're up 20 handles already for the S&P. As Arun said, some volume might be spread between both of those contracts, so we'll keep an eye on both of them. Going to be an interesting day. Before we go any further, Miss V is in the building. Good morning.
Good morning, Brandon, and hey guys, happy Trading Friday to you all. I wish you a positive, profitable day. Please smash the like button and let's get it started, Brandon.
Yeah, let's get it started, guys. Lots 2. That's the wrong one. That's still Miss V. We'll hit this one. There we go. If you missed it right off the bat here, CPI number coming out basically in line with expectations there for November. Both the year over year and month over month number, basically what was expected. 0.7 versus 0.8 there for the month over month, the year over year, 6.8 versus 6.8. So some revisions being made, looks like, to prior months as well. As we discussed, I mean, some forecasts that we were talking about we're in the 7s on the year-over-year number. We're in the 9s, I even saw, on the year-over-year number. So this is definitely a positive for the overall market going forward. So many things to maybe touch on here this morning. We'll start things off with C3AI, because here it is, $500 million DOD contract has C3AI. I was kind of amazed. I even mentioned to Neil before we came on here, this thing got all the way down to a $3 billion market cap after coming to market, if you remember, I think it was early last year. It might have been the end of 2020. I think it was over 100 on the market cap for C3AI. So quite a fall from grace.
Yeah, it was right at the end of the year in 2020. It feels like time has flown because it feels like yesterday, quite frankly, when we were trading C3AI. It's like, oh yeah, breakout 100. Oh, goodness. So we actually talked a little bit about C3AI earlier in the week for the bottom end consolidation break. It was actually in the context of comparing it to something else that didn't look like as good of a breakout. Should have just taken the bloody trade. C3AI, obviously, this is a monster move for them. $500 million contract. Now suddenly they got another client, which is how you got to grow, right? You want to have more than one. But anyways, I like a few levels here. I'm going to go right into looking at this 36 level, just right off of the bat. It's previous support. It's a monster gap up. higher valuation names, if we're going to hold this breakout that we're seeing in the market, are definitely going to be beneficiaries here. And if you just look at that previous support at 36 and 36 and a half, I think that can be put in. Obviously you're having a lot of things break out that were depressed. I mean, Tesla just broke 1,000. Well, I guess Oracle on the other end of the coin, Oracle was breaking a new high, so tech is looking pretty strong here. I do like the notion that C3i, probably even if it does have a bit of a sell the news, should try to catch a bid around that 36 to 36 and a half. If we break through there, not a gigantic fan of it because then obviously the optimism is gone. It sets up for a 39 break, but man, I like that support at 36 to 36 and a half first.
Yeah, I like the same area. That same area, but my cut point on that trade, if I were to go long, say around 35.50, I would prefer it closer to 35, 35.50. If we were to go long there, I would have to use 33.50 as a stop, right? So it's almost like waiting for, at this point, about a $3 pullback before you can actually decide to go long or try to catch it on a move down by $3, go long, and see if you can take the high. Of course, if that doesn't happen, the upside move, you don't see it on this chart here, but I like 41 based on the way it was moving in the pre-market. Let me actually bring up one of the other charts so you can see it here. Let me bring up the e-signal chart, AI. What you see here is going to be 41 right here. There seems to be a snap above 41. Obviously, that's above 40. So if we can get above 41 and stay above 41, that would be the location where I want to step in to the upside. But again, to the downside, 35, 35.50, somewhere around there could provide a nice little opportunity with a 33.50 stop.
All right, Michael Noss is a chartered market technician with Trade Ideas, back with us again for our weekly look at a few higher time frame, longer term ideas. Good to see you, Michael, as always. Some interesting moves here coming off of that number. What is it you are going to be paying attention to this morning?
Well, it's fascinating. It's the first time I've seen in a long time a number come exactly in line, like no deviation from estimates at all. So the question is how much of that is already priced in? And I think we need a little bit more time to see that. Usually there's some deviation one way or the other. So it's funny when we talk about these numbers that the fact that they were right is shocking compared to usually when they're wrong. But today, basically, I usually go over kind of swing trading ideas, but I just want to take a break and talk about how I look at gaps and how we look at gaps here at Trade Ideas, because we know all of you day trader guys love that stuff and want to make sure that we're not leaving you out. So I have a kind of a chart here of something that we call a top list window, which is how we scan for stocks kind of based on a top list way. And here's all the gappers that I've seen you guys talk about, the Oracle and the AI and all that, and just wanted to show you a little bit of a different way to look at it. So most people will look at gaps in a percentage basis or dollar basis. I like to, as a math nerd, look at it in more of a standard deviation basis. So don't worry for you guys having high school stats flashbacks. I'll go over this really shallowly, but the reason I don't like percentages or dollars as much is because a 10% move on a $1 stock is only 10 cents, or a 10-cent move on a $100 stock isn't that significant either. So I want to compare the gap that's going on today versus the gap as it normally takes place. So down to the next slide here for just a little brief kind of explanation of what standard deviation is. Again, don't worry, there won't be a test on this, but basically if you look at how much a stock normally moves and then you break that into a standard deviation metric as opposed to dollars or percent, it's about 68% of the time the stock will move this one standard deviation move. So that's super, super common. Now, if you get out to the two standard deviations, now you're talking about it's 95% that it won't do that. And then three standard deviations, I think it's 99% of the time. So instead of saying, hey, this stock's up 10%, we can say, hey, this stock's up 5 standard deviations, which means this move based off our look back period is incredibly rare. And for me, that makes things a little bit more interesting. So I've got some ideas down below. If we go down to Oracle here, these were taken a little bit ago, so they're a little bit different. But what I first want to look at is that Oracle right now, this is a 10 standard deviation gap. So this move for Oracle is exceedingly rare. And this helps us paint the picture of, is this a gap that's going to continue or is this a gap that was going to fade? I think I just caught Neil saying that he was looking at it around this $100 level. And that's exactly what I was looking at as well when I made this chart. first, you can see we had earnings, a little E on the bottom of our chart there. And then also we have a news feed, and I just saw on the news feed that it had an upgrade as well. So you take those and you weigh, if you are a news guy as a CMT, I'm not myself, but you take that and you say, okay, this gap is exceedingly rare. Do I think it's warranted? And then as always, go into your chart and see, right? And that $100, little bit $100 area was that spike from, I think that was October, November there. So, you know, you may just say above that, I think that's interesting. Below that, maybe not so much. And then down, right, you guys were just talking about the C3AI with this new contract development that we see the little news here on the bottom. But, you know, for a longer term trader like myself, the way I look at that is so far, this is a bounce in a downtrend, and this is a 5 standard deviation gap. So, you know, there's basically no gap in recent history that makes sense for a move like this. So again, it's looking at dollars or percentages doesn't tell you, in my opinion, as much as saying, hey, compare this gap on this move to kind of what's happened in the history of this stock. And now we know that this gap's exceedingly rare. And again, you know, $40 you can look at. There's a little bit of resistance back there on the chart. Next one is this EFOI. Couldn't find any news on this. I think it's probably whatever is continuing to go on there. Again, not as a news trader myself, but this is only a 3 standard deviation gap. So even though it's a larger percentage gap, because this stock moves more and has like a higher range and a higher ATR, this gap is actually less rare. So take that information as you will, but it may mean that this one has maybe more room to go than an Oracle or an AI based off of the historical performance of that individual security. So for the short side, I have to have something for you short traders in there. So there's EVBG here, which has, I believe it was bad. Yeah, the CEO resigned and it was downgraded, right? So this is a 10 standard deviation down gap. So again, larger than anything else really you can see on the chart. So, you know, does that mean it's time to step in and buy that? Maybe the news is already priced in. I couldn't find any support or resistance on the chart, so that's a bit of a no man's land one. So certainly be careful with that. And then lastly, we're looking at MESA, MESA, another downgrade, and then fourth quarter earnings loss. This one's, again, a 7 standard deviation gap. So again, just saying that this is way outside what this stock normally does. So for you revision traders, that might be something to watch. For you guys that are looking for continuation, maybe you want to wait for a pullback or something, because right now this is a little bit overdone.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to kind of approach the idea of what does this gap actually mean? Because as you said, you know, we come in every day and there's a whole list up and down of stocks that are gapping. So an interesting way to approach it and an interesting way to kind of classify the significance of the gap, as you said. Michael Nosh, Chartered Market Technician with Trade Ideas. We appreciate the info and time, as always. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
There we go, guys. A look at a few of these names that are moving around in the pre-market here. From more of a technical aspect, as I was saying, you know, it's a different way to approach, you know, what does this gap actually mean?
Yeah, I think that's the important thing, and I think that's why when you sort of compare and contrast, like you can see like 20% like moves like an Oracle compared to some of those small caps. Everything is relative, right? Like Oracle, I've been trading Oracle. I've probably mentioned this a few times. Like Oracle is literally the group of 4 stocks when I was a trainee back in 2003. Oracle was one of the 4 stocks that I traded to start out with. Now, obviously, there was a long time between when it wasn't a very exciting thing to be looking at, but it doesn't do this. Where on the other hand, the flip side, like we're talking about these other small cap names here, like they're just making gaps like this all the time. And I think where you might see like once every couple of months, there will be a 20 or 30% gap on, you know, one of these smaller cap names that is running and that is in play. But Oracle, this wick notwithstanding, it's just it's a monster move. That the earnings we're going to get to in just a little bit here, but you've got to make sure that you know things in context. Now, if you're familiar with the stock and you trade it every single day, well then intuitively you kind of gather some of that if you're watching the same groups. But if you're not and you're sort of always having to make that judgment, then yeah, tools like that make perfect sense. I'm glad we had Michael on to point that one out. I know some of you guys are looking at some of these levels here. That's a couple of things, because there's a few names that I didn't really get to while we had that bump up in the futures, and I wanted to talk about first, and people have been asking about NU because I guess everyone likes the new hot IPO. Apple is back at that 176 level, so puts in a rejection right at that sort of afternoon high at 176 that you saw yesterday as the market bumped to the upside, and then just going over to NU because another fintech name here that debuted in the market yesterday. There we go. It actually loaded up for me. I was actually waiting for this. So, you're going to get that pop. I was looking for a pullback off 1050, and then we could play off of the previous pre-market high at 1125. I can probably go ahead and cancel that. Not going to get that price. You have a 1225 top here for potential breakout. This didn't quite get as far. I'll tell you, it was a big time fail break at 12. I had the 12 long yesterday, so there were some sellers chewing up those price levels there. So NU was on the radar. I do like it for a pullback into 25s. We'll look at the 1225 breakout. Volume starting to slow down here at the top, and Apple 176 still in play as well.
Yeah, for me, I've got a couple names that I'm looking at as well. Roblox being one of them, north of 118 potentially. There's a long there. I'm kind of trying to figure that out. I saw the chat talk about Lucid, so I'm looking at that as well. I haven't figured out a trade there, but so far I'm looking at SoFi on the long side, Oracle, and AI. I've got a bid down there, like I talked about, just close to that 35 area. And then also I noticed Brendan standing by the big screen with some stocks, and I just decided maybe I want to take a look at one of those names as well, specifically Costco. Brendan.
Yeah, big move well, not a big move, but a decent report anyways for Costco. Off earnings there to the upside. 1% this morning. There's Oracle. Yeah, we were just talking about the significance of that gap, right? Royal Caribbean, Lululemon, price target increase. It's notable on all of these earnings plays. There's moves typically in both directions. So we just picked a Piper Sandler there for Lulu. You can still see it's down on the day. There's Chewy, Peloton, Citigroup, and Everbridge down huge. That's one that Michael was talking about.
Yeah, and Peloton this is actually on the watch list. I mean, obviously, that's still on NU for some reason. Yeah, Peloton, that's just another one. Disastrous day yesterday. The daily chart's going to be ugly. They got a series of downgrades recently, and obviously, you're pressed to. Some lows that you haven't seen. They go way back in the daily chart to even see how far. You're going all the way back into early 2020 through these levels, and there's a big one coming up here, and it is this just under this 39. You can sort of just way back in April, you had a pop into 39. It was resistance, and there was a breakout, then support. So 3 points of interest right here at that 39 price. Fast forward here to today. On the downgrade, you've just bounced off of 39 here. I think if it reclaims the low, you're breaking essentially the early 2020 bottoms for Peloton. Yeah, not a great sign for them, especially as things are starting to reopen and they have supply concerns. All of that's there. I'll pop and fade it in front of 40. I'll short it for sure. Look at a breakdown as well. The current low of the day sits at 38.90, so I'd go for that bit of a break. It is short sell restricted. We covered that yesterday. That means that you can't hit the bid without an uptick, but hey, there should be enough liquidity that will fire the order if it takes out the low of the day. Otherwise, going to be shorting the pop here in Peloton. Another one on the move. I know some people are going to be watching. That AVCT, yeah, got above that $2 we were talking about yesterday in the afternoon show. Figure there should be lots of support there. It already bounced off at 250, but if you're looking for a dip buy on AVCT, $2 makes some sense to me.
Going back to Peloton, I like the idea of fading that pop. So I've got an offer out there just north of 40. See if we can actually catch a move on the upside. Preferably, I would like to catch this on the upside. If it keeps going down, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it because the majority of the volume that I want to look at is sitting here north of 40, around that 41 area. So if I'm going to go for a short, it's got to be as close as possible to that volume cluster here, going back, 2, 3, 4 days worth of action here around this 41. So definitely for me, just north of 40. Why north of 40 and not below 40? Because I think that if we get above 40, there could be a run on stops. And if that's the case, fill me, please, with the stops. I will take those shares all day, every day. So that's why I'm waiting here and see if we can get a fill. And the stop on this is going to be north of 43. So a nice little move to the upside would help the position, at least trying to get the position. Futures, I'm noticing though, little slow action here north of 4,700. Be aware though, we still are within the bound of the range. 47.15 up top, 46.35 down below, and here we are trading in the upper band. So shorts could still come. They're still available on the. They're still on the table there. So we just got to keep an eye on if something sets up. If something does set up, definitely shorts on the futures are something I would take. I'm not going to be hesitant just because we're up, 0.71%. It doesn't mean I'm not going to short it. I would be open to shorting the futures. I just need a setup before we go for that.
All right, another notable name here, Beyond Meat. We were discussing a couple of times yesterday. Another one that's been under pressure big time over the past week or so, 2.75% here. About to make a day low, in fact, for BYND. Taco Bell canceling a product test in the U.S. for Beyond Meat product there, guys. So under pressure here for BYND.
Yeah, you could go Beyond Meat, Peloton in terms of looking almost exactly the same in the chart. Peloton has more volume. Peloton has more clear levels, at least for me, to play off of, and that's going to be the difference in story here. You got to pick one, and I'm going with Peloton and not Beyond Meat. You're not really testing down through a low to break, so there's really not something that you're not breaking the 63 support level, and even then, it's just a recent one, and you have some older levels back here if you go back to early January, like we're doing with Peloton. So, and it's only on 25,000 shares of volume. We just got CPI. There's a lot of movers here today. I can't see my way into Beyond Meat. I suppose under some circumstances you could get a push down if it were to fall far enough. You get back down to where this support was end of last week, the Friday flush, the Monday morning flush out. You got some support maybe at that 64. So maybe look for a dead cat bounce on volume there. But when it's doing nothing on that news, give me Peloton, which is A, moving, B, at some key levels, and C, has better pre-market volume. So all that lines up. I like Peloton to try to short today, not necessarily Beyond Meat. And it doesn't mean that Beyond Meat couldn't break this floor here and then drop $4, right? I think both those two names are capable, even with the market being strong, of doing that. I just like the one that's showing you some volume.
It's the same setup. It's the same chart. It's a matter of fading the bounce if there is a bounce, right? Peloton, we were looking north of 40 to go for a stop that was like $2.50 away, $3 away. You're gonna have to do the same thing here. You gotta get as close as 70, try to work with this volume from the last few days, see if you can fade the pop, and if you get the pop, then you put up $2 and see if it comes back to the lows, right? It's gonna be the exact same setup across the different names, and like Neil was saying, just because the Peloton's been moving a little bit more, I feel like we're more likely to get our fill on Peloton, so I'm just gonna leave that order there. Now, it doesn't mean I won't take Beyond Meat. What this means is, though, I want to see us trade around 70 before I go for the short. I'm not going to just put up a bunch of different orders that look very similar to each other, that are moving, somewhat in the similar fashion on the chart. So, although I may be picking one over the other, I'm still leaving this up. See if I get a setup. If I get the setup around 70, I'm still taking the short, and I'll put the $2 risk at that point. But I'm not going to put it out now, because, well, I'm more likely to get a fill on the other. That's the decision that I've gone with. So I've got at this point, I've got 4 orders out. So I'm still trying to find more stocks as well. So we'll see how this plays out. What else do we have, Brendan?
Yeah, speaking of a few more stocks, that is the link to the watch list, guys. We'll jump into what else is moving around in the pre-market here. Brought to you by this week, xsigma-trading.com. Check them out. That is the QR code if you want to grab that really, really quickly, or Miss V can help you out with that link if you need it in the chat as well. Let's get into a few names here that we need to cover. We talked about Oracle there with Michael Noss from Trade Ideas. Exceptional gap. He essentially said this never happens for Oracle, the size of this gap. It's in all-time high territory right now after this report was better than expected. Smaller loss than expected. Forecast was way better than expected. So positive to say the least here for Oracle.
Oracle's one of those names where I'm just like, first off, just because it's a 4-letter symbol, I'm always thinking NASDAQ. It's a tech name with a 4-letter symbol. So I'm like, it's a NASDAQ stock. It's a NASDAQ. It is not. It's a New York stock. That trips me out. It's up 13%. Quite a strong move. Here we are north of 100. So the way it's been moving, I like the idea of going long on a dip. Now, I'm going to have to put up about $2.50 and see if we can actually get a fill south of 100. That's where I'm going for. I don't want to step in front of 100. Although I may miss a trade, I just think because we're slowing down quite a bit around that 101, 101.50, that I'm going to try to get it as low as possible that still makes sense for the long while not risking too much and try to get it as far away as possible from this resistance level. So for me, 99.50 gets me closer to that 97 stop, $2.50, but still gives me an upside of at least $2 if we're going right back into resistance, right? So for me, that's the price that I've come up with that makes sense. So I'm going to wait down here. I am waiting down there. See if I can't get a fill close to that 99.50 mark, and then 97 would be the cut point on this trade. And if I need to reverse, I will absolutely reverse. So if you break 97, if the stock breaks 97 today and trades below 97, I'm going to go ahead, get out of the long, go for the short, because I think that's well established at that point that 100 has a ton of resistance. And we're starting to see a little bit, so you may see a drawdown around this 101. So if you get that drawdown and it accelerates after the open, then clearly 100 is not going to hold. This 102 is going to have to be the new stop, and you just spin the trade around, go for the short, 97 stop, 102 high, and then you look for the move down towards 90. That's all you can really do at this point. There's kind of two choices you have here. You go for the long, you go for the or you go for the short. The long would be around 99.50, below 100 on a dip, or if it breaks your long, you go for the short. Would I take a new trade if it goes north of 102? No, because the stop is going to be still out 97, and I can't justify the $5 risk. That's the simple explanation that I have. So for me, it has to be a long off a dip. And then if we break 97, I just spin the trade around and go for the short.
Yeah, the high day break is definitely out for me. I'm going to go to the daily charts. You can quickly see the 50 period is going to be back at 94. I think any dip has a chance to bounce off of that level. I'm not sure it can get to that 90 level. I actually feel like I want to take some profit. In the long term, I want to take some profit once we get off the show. We'll have to wait till like lunchtime or so on Oracle, because it's a tremendous move up. I might say this might be a little bit different from what Arun said. Whoops, other way. We'll go to the 1 minute here. I'm looking to see if it reclaims that 100. Like, I like dip buys all over the place. I just don't know if Oracle is going to necessarily be one of them. It still had a non-adjusted loss here, and if the market is going to reverse, it does feel like you can have a capitulation of that that 100 level, not $1, that 100 level, and on the previous high is 99 on the daily. So I feel like if you get through the pre-market lows, that 98.50 area, that could be early enough for me to want to short, because you have the previous high can be your out, 100 can be your out. You have a couple of stop areas that you can pay attention to in that particular case. Now, for all the reasons that you mentioned there, Arun, I don't like the break as well at 102. It just feels a little bit too far gone. I'm also you've probably guessed this, so I'm on the bid. If Tesla had just dipped to 1010, I'm on the bid in front of 1,000. If it retraces to 1,000, I want to grab a bid in front of that 1,000 level, like we were trying to do in the afternoon show as well yesterday, obviously. And we'll see if we can pick that one up. But I'm sort of favoring right now that it looks like Oracle is having some trouble getting up that 100. If it retakes that level, I think it's a short through the bottom. And AVCT just made another run. I want to keep tracking this one because I feel like this is going to be the small cap of most interest, sort of on the bid here in front of $2. This was the high yesterday. It tried to break down this $2 level, made some support at $2 before. So I think getting long in front of the two. C3AI just filled me at 36 there. If it holds that sort of flush out low at 195, then it's still maintained this $2 level, and you're setting up for a 250 breakout as well. But I'd rather do the dip buy first. So AVCT sitting on the bid in front of 2.
All right, as we said, the inflation number there in line with expectations, which as a result is actually a little bit better than expected. Big move in the futures here, Arun. As you said, the kind of contract rollover today, so we have to kind of keep an eye on both last contract and the front month on a rollover day. What are you looking at today?
Yeah, so let me just pull up. This is the March contract here. Trading around 46.95, 90,000 traded on our system since our servers came up. So let's compare that with the December contract. For anyone who can't see, I'll just read it out. December has done 116,000 or almost 117,000. So it's about 20,000 more or so, or actually 27,000 more. And that's what you're going to see in the pre-market. So based on how it's trading right now, it does look like December is still going to be the volume leader in terms of contracts, although the rollover happened as of, I guess, the end of yesterday's session. Not everyone has moved over. And that's typically what happens. Not everyone moves over on the Friday, but everyone moves over on the Monday. So for me, though, I'm going to stay where the volume is. And if the volume is in December, then I'm going to trade the December contract. For anyone who's trading the spiders, keep in mind, because the contracts have rolled over, they're going to be corresponding much more closer to the movement it gets messy, but for most part, all the contracts should be moving together anyways, but the spiders are going to be following, if anything, the March contract, given that's the new front month, right? So that's the rollover, but you really should see no difference given that they all move together anyways, just a liquidity thing on that side. So December contract is what we're looking at. So the level is going to be somewhat different on the December contract. Be aware, if you have a consolidated contract, by the way, and what I mean by consolidated is someone who's using eSignal, if you guys are at home using eSignal or another platform that allows you to do a pound F, which kind of ties in all the contracts together, they've also moved over to the March contract as well. So you're going to have to physically kind of punch in your December contract terms to see that chart. So here we are looking at the Z21 contract, which expires next week, has already rolled over, and this is going to be the last day we're going to be trading it. As of Monday, we're going to go to the March contract. So what are we looking at in terms of levels? 47.15 up top. That level's been in play pretty much for, what is it, like 3 days now? Yeah, 3 days since we put in that high around 47.10. So 47.15 is in play, and the bottom end was 46.35, and we were working with a really wide range. So anything below 70 into the 60s, we were looking for longs. Anything north of 90, like I mentioned yesterday, we're looking for shorts. And you just range trade this as much as possible. Now here we are in the upper band of that range. What do? Well, given the strength of this, you're going to have to wait for the open, but at the same time, be aware the volume now is being split between two contracts. So you're not going to, for anyone who reads volume, or the tape heavily like I do, it's going to be hard. Today's going to be one of those days where volume is split, so the volume coming through each one of these contracts is not going to be the full volume that represents the futures contracts, right? So you just have to be smart about how you're looking at volume. But for me, though, I'm going to wait to see the open. I want to see how volume flows through this contract after maybe the first 5-10 minutes of the open. If I need to switch contracts after the open, I will. I'll go to the March contract. But for now, we're going to start with the December contract. We're looking for a potential short up here, but it's not set up just yet, right? So I'm looking maybe 46.90 or so. If we get below that, we can put a 25-point stop, see if we can't work a short and back to the bottom of the range. If this market were to extend to its high, then that's a different scenario where we need to kind of figure out how it trades the highs. Is it going to trade well past the highs? Is the volume there to support the high? If that's all true, then we go for the long with a stop that I still got to figure out, because I haven't yet figured out what the stop is yet, because we don't have volume to kind of base it on, right? So we're still waiting on that, and we'll see how this all plays out. But for now, December contracts is what we're looking at, and it's trading around 4,700.
Yeah, lots to consider. We'll keep an eye on both going forward. As we said, into the open here, let's have a look at C3AI. Guys, if you're just joining us, big government contract announced, $500 million worth of a government contract announced for C3AI. But I say that, and we are already kind of drifting back to the downside here. I mean, if you look at a daily chart, this is still a weak stock.
Oh, absolutely a weak stock, no doubt. But actually, I accidentally, I said to you guys in the chat, I accidentally put a stop order in and keystroked it early, just got in and out flat. And the timing of that was interesting because like right after I got in and out, the stock actually followed. We talked about the 36 level. I grabbed some 15s in front of it here and just looking immediately to make a scalp trade in the pre-market here off of that level. Like you said, Brendan, like it's still a very, very weak stock. What we did note in terms of the breakout that it had put in, it was at that 30 level here. We had the nice consolidation, double bottom 27.50, and then you had the breakout, sustain that high, and then you held this support all the way through. So I looked at this new range up at the top, and I looked at this sort of support level down here, 35.50 to 36, and then I wanted just to bounce long in front of it. I think if it breaks through, you know, obviously you have a chance to come right back into, as far as like 33, certainly going to be in play, but you know, I'd like to see if I can't catch this bounce here, grab like 50 pennies for a quick little scalp win, see if it can't get back up to this 37, 38 area for the rest. It still has its own breakout that could happen at like $39 or $40. So I would probably conclude this trade in front of that and then look to make another long trade if it's going to take out that top. Of course, any test at a high like this, 39 and then potentially 40, if the stock gets there, it does always set up for a failed breakout at those levels. But for now, just looking at the dip buy, I also just got checked into that CNTX, by the way, and AVCT starting to come down to $2, by the way. CNTX, not AVCT. CNTX just broke down through like this 750 area, just going all the way back to this sort of key pivot area that it had, breaking all the way to $10. Bit of a gap up and now a fade here on CNTX. I'll go over to the, Go over to the 1 minute so you can quickly see here. Yeah, it just took out that bottom. I got the short. You had a previous high here at about 7 to 7.15 or so. I think that's a pretty reasonable first target. I'll play this back to like 7.75 and then look for a reload. Don't want to be averaging in if it's like 9.25, but we got some time till then.
All right. I'm not going to go into any stocks. There was a question in the chat that I wanted to address. Someone's like, well, what are the futures? Well, for anyone who's looking at what is the market, then the market as a whole is represented by what exactly? So a lot of people look at the spiders. Well, the spiders track something. They're an ETF and they track something. What do they track? They track the futures contracts, which is a derivative of the market as a whole. So you can't trade the composite, which is the whole market. The S&P 500 represents 500 companies. The futures contracts, what they do is they take a weighting. They take 500 companies, weight them. Each company has a different weighting. At the top of the list, you have Apple, you have Microsoft, some big tech names, and each company has a weight. Depending on how each company moves, the S&P 500 moves. And that's what you see. If you look up on any financial website or any TV show that shows finances at the bottom, the S&P was up 500 points or whatever. Well, how do you participate in the whole market or in the whole group of stocks together? You trade through the futures contracts, or alternatively, you can trade through the ETF. A lot of people, mostly because they're focused on the stock side of things, know about the ETF. But to be fair, it tracks the futures. So it's not like doing its own moves on its own. Like it's not doing its own thing. It's tracking something else, which is a tradable version of the composite, which would be the futures contracts. And they roll over every 3 months. So here we are looking at the futures contracts, guys. And just be aware that if this is something new, just go on the CME Group website and figure out how it's defined, what the contract specs are. There's a lot more to it. The rules are slightly different. But in terms of trading the market as a whole, you need to understand what the market is. What does it mean? What does a market hold? What does a market mean, right? When you say, oh, the market is up and the market is down, what does that mean? What are you tracking? So figure out, if you need to know more information, just go on the CME Group website so it can help you understand what it is that you're looking for or what you're looking at when you say the word market. Brendan?
And we've done videos in the past regarding indicators, guys, talking about lagging indicators versus indicators that are forward-looking. So we just use the futures as a kind of a leading indicator as we navigate the market every single day. New Bank, New Holdings Limited was the big IPO, or one of the big IPOs from yesterday. Comes to market raising $2.6 billion, about a $41.5 billion market cap. Very active here in the pre-market. It's worth saying, up 12%. That might actually not be right off of data on our charts, but a nice look here, back to the upside after a bit of a sell-off late in the day yesterday, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, look, if that 53 print on your chart at the open was real, then I don't know, we probably wouldn't be here because we're all long the 1125 opening print. Now it was a successful trade, right? Like it's not going to give you the halt up and 50% move that some of these smaller IPOs have done recently, but that's not going to happen with something that liquid. So the open trade works, but you got to get in, you got to get out for that strategy. And we talk about this all the time. Like that's a short-term, very, very quick day trading style of trade to take the opening print and then run it out. Like I even took a 12 break and that was like a 20-cent winner, and then I ended up losing on the final quarter of that position. And then in the afternoon, we're basically trading off 10 even. It was a great long. Several times it gave it to you. You can forget about all of those with the gap up here. So it's looking pretty strong. This is a Buffett back play that everyone's pretty excited about. I was looking at that 1125 level. Looks like that could start to come back into play here in front of it. We'll take a quick look at that at the open. Other than that, you're basically talking about a 12 even break, which it was a trap yesterday. So you got to put that in the back of your mind. If 12 even breaks and can't get through yesterday's high, the snapback could get pretty gruesome, but it's the kind of long that, as a day trader, you kind of want to have some exposure to it. Just don't be surprised when, if I take it, I'm in at 12 and then I got a bunch of shares out, 15, 20s in front of that 25. And then maybe you can even, take a 25 or 30 breakout when it makes a fresh all-time high. I know all-time highs not really saying much. It's been trading for 2 days. While that was going on, C3AI got a first out. I am set up that if we get further consolidation here, I can try reloading the same price. But when it's stair-stepping to the downside, when you scalp out and get some shares in, I do not like catching the falling sword. You'd rather catch the falling sword at a lower level. Otherwise, I want to see consolidation and break and maybe get a better price than what we have. Sorry, a higher price than what we have now, averaging up instead of down. Other position I have is just that CNTX and still watching Tesla about $10 away from my bid.
All right, new. When Brendan said new, I was like, the only name that I know in the market that, or new in the market that had the word new was Nucor. I've traded so long that I only ever knew Nucor as the symbol. I was like, oh, it must be Nucor. No, it's a brand new company. Okay, so here we are. I'm looking at it, and 1180 seems to be a problem here. We've worked around this 1175, 1180, clearly in front of that 12 area now. Even from yesterday, we've hesitated quite a bit, it seems like, and it is falling off in the same area. That was like around that high. We got as high as what, 1225 yesterday off the initial pop, and then we fell. Here we are back around that 12. I think 12 is going to be the critical level here. Get above 12, stay above 12 by trading pieces. So any sort of sells that are coming in, if they can be bought back up, then I think you have established a brand new level or support level to work around, because this is going to be a problem. It was a problem yesterday. It's going to be a problem today, it seems like. If we get through it, though, then longs are definitely on the table. So I'm going to see how 12 reacts. Like I said, get above 12, stay above 12, and be able to absorb any selling that comes in, because there seems to be a decent amount of selling that's coming in above 12. So maybe around 1220 or something like that, come back down to like 1190, 1180, and as long as it can stand strong and take all of that selling and still get back above 12, then I think you get confirmation that the strength is there, so you go for the long at that point. But for now, though, this area definitely scares me. For any micro scalpers who want to get maybe 20, 30 cents in between, there's your level to work with, 12 even, and try to squeeze something down. But for me, I'd rather kind of set something up. So for me, 12 even is going to kind of declare how this trade works out. It's going to be one of those get above, stay above. It's going to require a lot of conditions to get that trade, but that is going to have to be the condition in this stock, especially the way it's been moving. Just an update, I've already got my Roblox long at 118, and it seems like we're about 15 cents in the money. Just to put things in perspective, though, it's too early because it really doesn't matter. This is what it looks like. There's 173,000 shares, and it's very thin. I got 118.15 on the bid, 118.39 on the offer. There's not a whole lot of volume. So just because I'm up right now doesn't mean a whole lot. I am looking towards 120 as the potential target here. So we'll see how this all plays out, but I've got that Roblox long at 118.
All right, we put Costco on the list this morning off of that earnings report. Higher here, but not really active or doing much. I mean, Costco's a big $500 stock, so we'll keep an eye on that. But let's go to Peloton, because it might be a little more exciting today, back to the downside after Credit Suisse downgrade, kind of adding pressure to this stock that's, as we've said, been under pressure for a month or so.
Get in there and sell, Mortimer, sell. And if you've, I don't know, I like trading. You don't like trading places? Okay, anyway.
No, it's not trading places. I just, like, here's the issue with me watching movies is that I watch the movie and then like a week later, I just forget about it. Like, regardless of how great it is, I just rewatch Avengers Endgame, and to be fair, I don't even remember the first Infinity Wars or whatever it was. Oh. The first one of the two-part series. So it's just one of those things where I watch a movie, it's in my head for like a week. It's like a trade. It's like a great trade or a bad trade. I remember it and then I forget it.
Well, never forget watching like the trading action that's in trading places. If you're ever interested in pit trading, watch that. It's a great exaggeration near the end of the film. But either way, when they say sell, Mortimer, it's like dump everything was the theme. And Peloton, I think we're both looking short the pop here in front of 40 for me. I'm taking shares in the front end of 40. I just want to be involved if it gets to that price. If it breaks out from there, you can definitely give it some room. You had resistance at 41 here, and like right at the close actually at 41. It could take out a fresh low here at 38.90 as well for a breakdown trade. But I prefer a pop and fade type of idea. While that was going on, we'll ring the Reggie on a little bit of shares here. I don't know. I'll hit a key. Why not? CMTX. I should probably zoom in so it looks better. I'm just trying to, I zoomed this one out so you could see the context of yesterday's support, but rolling and rounding into the short in front of 750. Already got some out at 30s, just took some out in front of the quarters. Next stop, 7 to 710 area on this name. The more shares I get out, the more likely I'm going to give this that breath and want to get back in at 775 if it pops upside. So if I get it again, I'd rather it be a better price. I just missed catching the bid on AVCT, just didn't quite come down far enough in front of $2. But yeah, I'm shorting the pop on Peloton. I think that's the only play there is to be made. Maybe it takes out takes out that 38.90 as well at the open. But lately, you've been getting that fade trade almost every single time.
Yeah, and in this specific situation, Peloton just sets it up. I mean, we could be wrong, but we could get blown up by this. But to be fair, I think the probabilities are better on your side. Again, it's which one do you choose and why do you choose it? I choose Peloton just because the way it's been trading in front of 40. And I kind of went over this. The way it's been trading in front of 40 for multiple days, if you get a below 40, I want to participate in that short because for me, there should be a ton of volume here. And I respect volume. So if we're going to play for the trade, it's going to be either get through this volume and go for the long, okay? Or given the trend it's been on, just wait for the pop and fade it. And this is the trade that I think is easier here. Now, of course, Peloton could be one of those crazy movers that decides, you know what, no, I'm going to go up and I'm going to go straight back into the range here, north of 43. And that's a possibility. And if that actually ends up happening, then we end up taking a hit. But that's trading for you, right? You take your shots based on the probabilities. And it looks like, for me, probabilities, based on the way I do things, it looks like probability is going to be better for the short side than the long. So I'm going for that. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But for me, I'll live and die by that sword, I guess.
Let's continue along. Chewy, a big mover here in the pre-market as well. We had Lululemon on the list, guys, but again, not terribly active here in the pre-market. Nice move to the downside today for Chewy. There's some question marks around their forecast going forward and also some supply chain mentions as well for Chewy.
Yeah, not a great look for them, and another weak name that's going to get beaten up a little bit here. There we are, Chewy. It's going to be short sell restricted. It's down 9.5%. It was down over 10%. And you do have the most obvious level as usual. When you get round numbers, look, traders, everybody's out there and they put stop orders in at random prices or in obvious prices. You had a bottom in aftermarket of $50 even on Chewy. And you got a pre-market low here just in front of that $50 level. So, I mean, I think you can kind of figure out what I'm getting at here. This is just, it breaks 50, I'm taking a short through 50, and if it does a fail break, I'd want a reversal into the long trade. It's pretty clean, it's pretty straightforward. It's at $51 now, so I don't have to worry about this coming in probably until after the open. But I mean, Chewy, supply chain concerns. The trend has clearly not been broken in any fashion here, and you don't really have any historical support till 44, which is significantly lower than this. So that all lines up. 50 breaks. That's a great scalp trade for a day trader because you can take some out in front of the quarter and then you can ride the rest of the trade. So 50 even, that's a breakdown for me on Chewy. Pretty simple.
I'm going to box it in actually. So 50 by 53. So I'm open either side. The issue I have is because 50 is such a round number, like Neil mentioned, there's going to be a ton of stops waiting there.
Yep.
So what you might see is a quick acceleration as soon as we get below 50. But then if it snaps back in, then there's a problem, right? Then that entire move was just based on stops. So what I'm going to wait to do is, preferably, this is what I would like to happen. Obviously, not everything happens that way, but if we get below 50 and we snap back and we take out 53, that, for me, that's a false breakout with an upside move. That's going to be gold. So that's what I would prefer to happen. But let's set up some other scenarios here. If it takes out 53 without taking out 50, then I'm going to be careful on how I trade the long, but I would be open to the long. If it takes out 50 first, then I want to see how it trades below 50 just to avoid any snapback moves. So if I can avoid any snapback moves as it's going to 50 right now. It's at 50.18. So here it's 50.15 right now. So as it's moving down, I'm very curious to see how 50 trades. I'm not going to jump in right away just on the snap through 50, but I would like to participate in the short if it stays below 50. As I talk, though, there goes Roblox, guys. 50 cents in the money, even with the spread. What is Roblox doing now? Roblox, 118.50 by 118.90. So I'm still 50 cents in the money with the spread of 40 cents. So here we got Roblox taking off towards 120. That's kind of the first goal here, but preferably we got 121, 121.50. That's kind of where I'm looking, but I'll respect that big round number of 120, and we'll kind of make a decision when it gets there. And we've got about 7 minutes before we open there, Brendan.
Just wanted to mention, guys, there was a couple of people talking about Lucid. There's also, this isn't the first time this has happened, but be very careful today if you're trading Lucid because there's also this one, LUCD, which is Lucid Diagnostics. It's done no volume essentially, but up and on some gap scanners this morning. So LUCD is a little tiny diagnostics company, 7.8 million share float. But LUCD, very, very close to LCID for the Lucid we're used to trading, guys.
Honestly, I did not know the existence of that symbol, so good luck. I mean, you make a keystroke error for orders, you can make the same mistake putting in a symbol. I was just mentioning in the chat, there's a battle going on, some icebergs at 36 on C3AI, and then another one at 85. The sellers seem to be winning, so I just covered the trade. I'm going to wait till the open. I don't want to turn it negative when it's in a downtrend. I think we can wait to pick up a bit. But two things here. Lucid, the real Lucid, please stand up. Well, we'll see if it does. 50 period is right here, right now, at about 37.75. You have a bottom end here. The wick on Monday was down to this 38 level. Remember 38? You were here, Rune. It was a 42 over and over again. The bottom was 38 when Rivian was making its bottom at $100. You flushed through that. Now you got resistance up at the top. I mean, I think you know what we're getting at here. It's broken 38 pre-market, just a little tiny bit here as I do get into Peloton there, just by a little bit here. But it has been so far a bit of a failed breakout. It can still take out the top, and I think it's pretty valid here. So I'm going to go long on Lucid at 38.30 through the top side here and see if we can't get this one to pop and roll. Only 5 minutes to go before the open, and already a pretty wild one. There's no continuation in the futures, interestingly enough. We got the pop, and now we're not doing much.
Yeah, it's the top in the range. It's not surprising. On my screen, someone asked for, there's a couple things in the chat I'm going to address. Someone asked for the imbalances. AVCT, sell side 548,000, best 505,000 on the buy side. Dan asked me what I was talking about when it came to Chewy. What I was saying is I would like the stops to get taken out below 50. And then if it takes out the stops and then snaps back up and takes out 53, for me, that's the long that I want because I know the stops got taken out. Because if you go long before and then you still have to use 50 as your stop, then you could get washed out on that false move through the bottom anyways. So preferably take the stops out and then snap back. Just kind of establishes the support level even more. And someone was asking, what does my shirt say? It says, keep calm and call Batman, is what it says.
That's a good, that's always
So there you go. I addressed 3 questions in the chat, guys. Brendan?
Good theme for the day, possibly. Keep calm and call Arun, maybe. EFOI, one at the bottom end of the list. You remember this popped up a couple days back. We're back into this 4 to 450 and then 5 were the levels we were talking about on the initial move to the upside here. Big levels back here on the daily chart. But still, coming off a little bit, that's 450, that's 5 above it. 4.5, I believe, million share float on EFOI, guys.
Yeah, float is everything when it's that tiny. Tread lightly. Be careful when you trade a name like that. Obviously, that goes without saying, but we're going to say it to you guys anyways. I'm going to cancel this bid, the current bid in front of 206 on AVCT. If it retests that 2 even, now we'll sort of play it by ear in front of 2 even instead of just sitting in front when it bounced at 215. This is one that is set up for a bit of a 250 test. It's got a nice little wick up here, 250 top, $2 of support, so inside of the range. I don't know that you want it at 25s. You either want a failed push at 250 at the open, and you get the rollover. Otherwise, I want to be a buyer in front of 2 even. Pretty binary for me on that particular name. Just got Peloton, so I said I'd jump in front of it. These wicks are obviously pretty crazy, but it does have a 10 to 15 cent spread. So we got 39.90 short.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to wait for 40, to be honest with you. I just wanted short the pop on Peloton and figured if 40 was resistance, I didn't want to miss this one at the open. So I am into Peloton here at 39.90. I'm willing to add to it, obviously, when the market opens up. If we find resistance at those levels, it can still be pretty good. The other one that we're watching here, still in front of 1,000 on Tesla here. And another, I don't think we talked about Moderna. They got some results on a flu. Ooh, I'm not going to get that, Phil. They got some results on for a flu drug. Oh my goodness, Moderna. That's way further down than I thought this was. I thought we were at 240 here. We're all the way down at 235. So sort of on the fly here, I was going to short off of 250 if it popped. I'm kind of thinking back at maybe this 245 area. I'm not sure you're wrong until 250, but Moderna has been just... It's just been a short till it's not. I feel like the momentum has not broken down. The other vaccine names are much stronger, even though there has been some pullback in here today. And the last that I'll give you before we'll let you come back here and talk a little bit, Arun, is Oracle. So Oracle has popped again. We gave the reasons why. I mean, I didn't like I didn't like the 102 break. We are booming to the upside here. So Oracle, wow, it's just a hold my beer moment for Oracle here. I think you're a ways away from now considering like 99 short. It's going to have to travel $3 to get there. I'll probably be pulling this one off of my radar for the first 5 minutes. Got enough that I'm already watching here. I got Peloton in, looking for some Tesla. Could get a break in Lucid at 38.30, and then still want to get back into C3I as well.
Oracle, why? See, this is one of those issues where you want that snap below 100 so you can get long off the stops, but then if you don't get filled, 100 would have been the best possible price because what, we got as low as 115. So there goes Oracle now at 103. Would I still go long south of 100? I mean, yes, for now. It might change after I see how the open moves, but for now we'll see. We'll say yes to that. So I've got a couple more fills here. I picked up SoFi, bid just in front of 1580. Stop on this is just south of 1530. Oracle, as I watch Oracle take out 103.50. Damn.
Oh, yeah, dropping the countdown. One I did forget. There's great double support on Square at 185. It is all kinds of along in front of that price, but Miss B's on the bell. It's green, 2 and 1. Ring it. I know we have a lot to get to, and I did forget to mention Square here. So quickly before I get to anything, if I can even get this one loaded up, I just want to immediately show you guys.
There's a Piton short.
185. Piton, yeah, starting to come in. Square 185. I'm going long 186 in front of it.
Yeah, picked up that Piton, so here I am short on Piton. It is running north of 40, but hey, that's what we were looking for. That short right off the top here, right off that move into that 40-50 area. Stop on this is north of 43, so we're going to leave that alone. We've got some resistance to work with. Roblox, something that was up $1.30 in the money at one point, kind of just snapped right back down off the open. We've still got support to kind of be okay with this long, so here we are still holding on to that long. And we've got SoFi as well, kind of not drifting away, but it is coming off a little bit here, 10 cents out. So we're waiting for those three to work themselves out. It's too early to kind of do anything with futures, bouncing a little bit after the open. Damn it, Oracle, now towards 105. Okay, I think we got to pull that order on Oracle. I'm not going to get that fill. It's probably not worth that fill anymore anyways.
Oracle going absolutely crazy. C3I, I wanted to be patient with trying to get back into the long off the open to see what would happen. We've already tested through 35.80, so a bit of a pop to the downside, and now we're starting to come back in a little bit. Now, if it can hold up that level, then I think re-entering it around 36 makes sense, but as you're seeing, it's fallen like a rock. I've grabbed that Apple right around that 176 key breakout mark. I like that one. We can hold on to it as the market dips a little bit, and then CNTX, that was the one that we're in already pre-market. Come on, you're really going to do this to me? You're not going to load? Yeah, it just popped up. I wanted 775. It went to 760, so I just missed an opportunity to reload at 750. I'll pop on the offer in front just in case it happens to come back, but this one could have come and gone. Peloton, that was quick. It's already at that 41 price range, so we want to see what happens. I got my 40.50, so I have my price in now. I got a 40 average price. I want to see 41 try to hold on a higher time frame. This is what it's going to look like here. If it cannot hold this level, obviously Peloton has that chance ripping your face off. But I'm not even bidding this thing until it gets to 39, which is the low of the day, and then through the bottom. So this is a wide range type of play. Tesla 1,000 already.
Chewy. Okay, well, we got a lot to process with Chewy. We were talking about Chewy south of 50. We were boxing it in between 53 and 50, preferably take out some stops and then take out 53. No, it just went to 50, didn't do anything, like barely traded below 50. What was the low? It was like 49 something. It was like not even, it was like a few cents past 49, I think, on Chewy. So here, I can actually, 49.99 is the low. And then it decides it wants to take out 50, so 53. So here we are kind of waiting on this. Although it is somewhat set up to long. Yeah, thanks, man. I'm short. Brad is talking about Peloton taking, I think,
fail break on Peloton. That was a fail break.
41?
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm already short, so that helps my case. So Chewy, north of 53. We still got to keep an eye on this because although the long might look like it's set up, I'm not there yet. There's still some sell side action left. And I want those stops to get taken. Those stops below 50 worry me a little bit. That's why I'm not stepping into these longs just yet. If we trade a little bit more north of 53, I'll be more comfortable with it, so I'll step in then. But for now, though, we're just going to keep an eye on Chewy and how it trades around that 53. Another trade we were talking about earlier, Costco. I've got Costco marked off at 536. but this thing is so thin that you kind of gotta let it digest. The spread is about 70 cents or so. So let it digest how it wants to trade. There's a trade here. I will make the trade if it becomes available, but 536, right now it's like $1.50 spread. 536 needs to settle down. There needs to be some more volume that comes in, and this thing needs to settle down. Thank you so much, Valeria. And Roblox has now moved back in the money. Thank you. It is up 86 cents. SoFi is back to being flat. Oh, Roblox now $1.50 in the money, taking off towards 120. Here we go, $1.63 in the money now on Roblox. And Peloton, Neil was talking about a failed break. Now we just broke 120 on Roblox.
Yeah, sorry, I was gonna say, Tesla was just battling at $1,000 there as the market is trying to get to 1% on the NASDAQ. So it was a quick little breach of that 1,000 level, but it couldn't really continue too far to the downside. So no threat of the 990. It couldn't even take out the 995. So I'll go to the 1 minute now so you can quickly see. Couldn't even take out the 995. I go 1-to-1 for the first target out. Now I just want to hold on to it, see how far it can go. So we'll ring the register, ring the Reggie on the first Tesla 1000 play. Apple starting to work as well, but hey, Apple, this is one of those ones. The market's going to be up today. It's going to hold at 175. I don't know that I want to be too aggressive in getting out of this. I'll take some out in front of the 50s, maybe some in front of 177. But if the market starts going, maybe Peloton sucks, but this Tesla and this Apple should be fantastic. I might have missed C3A. I got to check back in on that one. Brendo?
Shout out to Sean watching from home today. Up 2% here, Sean, for Ford. What a move today so far through 20 there. Huge volume alert went off, getting back to the top end of the range here for Ford, guys.
That only made me remember that GM had a partnership or a deal with MP Materials, so I should have been checking out them this morning. I neglected to do so, but again, not a stock that usually moves very much. I said I would go back to C3AI. Yeah, not doing a heck of a lot. So like I said, I was going to be patient re-entering this trade. There were enough sellers in that 85 to 36 range, and I was telling you, the guys in the chat, the sellers were really winning. Icebergs all over the place, so I'm going to stay away from that one. Piton's starting to work itself out. We're going to stick to the higher time frame here, so this actually makes a little bit more sense to everybody. When you're giving it this wide of a range, I can't pull this over for some reason to show you my 15-minute chart. I guess I can zoom out. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, just to give you an idea, this is a monstrous range. If we get through the bottom here, my first target out is going to be between 39 and 39.50. But if you break that low, there's all kinds of runway to the downside. Another retest coming in here for Tesla. So I'm looking for a reload around this 1,000 level. A lot going on, obviously. We're going to load up. Come on, Tesla, give me a break. Another reload, hopefully, on this Tesla trade. You want to see it hold this 990 level that was so good earlier and want to get a better price. If it can actually hold 990 and get something like 92, 93, that's obviously better than what we have here. Oddly enough, Apple still actually at that 176 high while Tesla's pulling back in. So the theme of Tesla being relatively weak remains true. Obviously, I like the Apple long because I've taken nothing out for profit yet, but Tesla, I still like it. If we can reclaim this 1,000 level after this dump, it should be pretty good. But Elon keeps selling and Tesla relatively weak. Brendo?
Big mover a couple days ago, I think it was, maybe yesterday even. Volume came into VYNE back to the upside, held 150. A little one, guys, trying to move for VYNE.
All right. I mean, hey, who doesn't like almost a $4 winner? I got 360 in the money, and I've already taken some out on Roblox. Hot fire right now, absolutely taking off. 118 is where our entry is. Here we are at 121.50, so 350 or so. I've already taken out some here in front of that 121.50. So we are out making some money here. We're looking for some more trade. We're going to let this one work out. What else do we have? We have SoFi out 15 cents, Piton out 17 cents. So that false break that Neil was talking about above 41 on Piton is helping the situation here. But we also
I haven't covered any. You covered any?
No. Well, I'm short well below where you're in, right? So I'm short here just in front of 40.50. I'm at 40.23 actually. So for me, I knew that this was going to be the resistance I wanted to work with. Between 40, half 41, I just wanted to make sure I got the fill. I was looking for a snap of stops below, above 40. So I didn't think, obviously, you're not going to expect it to go another $1 past that. But for me, here we are coming back in now. Now 10 cents out of the money on Piton. But again, this is the area that we want to work with on the short side. If you're going for the short on Piton, it has to be in this area. So here we are waiting for this kind of to work out. Let's take a quick look at SoFi as well, just update the other position. SoFi still continuing to the downside. This one actually might fail. My stop is just south of here just south of 1525. So if this fails, I'm expecting support here in front of that 1550 and that 1540 area. If we don't get it, we're going to have to lose on that one. But it's going to be like a 60-cent hit or so. Not as big as the other ones. And I just picked up AI as well in front of that 3520.
I'm going to do this one for you. So it's been pretty good this morning. First target on Apple, 176.50. Actually, I only take out 20%. I want to ride this train to the upside. I feel like it's obviously relatively strong here. I mean, Tesla's only going back into the green for me just now. One of the shorts that is working, CNTX. Yeah, that cratered. I'm not getting this fill at 740. Short here, 744. Broke 7 even. We'll take a 50-cent winner on that one. Still holding on to that position as well. And Moderna. Yeah, Moderna's starting to get off the old schneid a little bit here, so it's not quite at that 250 mark. That's the level I'm eyeballing. I kind of stayed away from the 245 after we got into that Peloton trader and holding on to it. And Lucid, so this is pie in my face. As I was getting the Tesla fill, as I got the Apple fill, yeah, I thought I had an order for the breakout at the top at Lucid, like I mentioned. I clearly did not. Maybe I didn't hit enter. In my head, I'm like, yeah, we're going to take the breakout on Lucid. But we got a couple of longs that are working out fine here. Tesla long working great. I just missed the boat on the Lucid break. It looked great on the daily chart. I should have had this one for you guys here as well. But we did talk about it at least. Obviously, with the market booming, you can probably throw out the dip buy in square, at least for now. I'm sitting down at that 186. It hasn't broken out, so there's still a chance you can get a bit of a dip buy. Going to ride the train on the 4 winners that we have. Start looking back over at Oracle, because sometimes you look at something like, I think Mike and Loss talked about this, Oracle does not do this. So for me, either I got a setup that I liked on it, or I just had to stay away from it. As fantastic as it possibly could be here to the upside, I'm happy that this is working for my long term, but I just couldn't take the 102 breakout because it felt like it had come too far. It's a hold your beer moment over here for Oracle as it touches 106. I got nothing for it though. CNTX continues to crater, now down at 675. Going to take another bid out there in that particular one. Tesla, I'm looking at 120 here on Tesla. And I know I took about $5 and change on that first trade. At this point, either I get this dip buy, back below that $1,000 level and we can hold 990, or I'm out in front of 1,020. This is a hold on to it all day if it's going to be that wick out bottom. This is not a scalp trade again. I've already scalped it once. If I get more shares, in and around 95 to 97, then I'll consider scalping those trades out. But for now, we're going to hold on for dear life. Same thing I want to do over in Apple. We don't want to get too hasty here. We were able to catch a great break. We got the great retracement almost immediately right back into the obvious 175.50 support. So 175 here, 176 break, support ended up being right 175.50 right at the open. It doesn't get any more gorgeous than that for you. So if we can hold up and the market does what we'd like it to do, which is continue, then I think Apple's one that I can hold longer than I would hold Tesla. For those of you still looking at Lucid, now breaking out at 39. $40, I think that could be a turnaround point. I did miss the long there, but at some point, you can't chase it forever. I think 40 is going to be a short if it eventually gets there. Peloton now breaking 40 to the downside. Until it gets to 39.50, I'm not going to get too excited about that one, Arun. I'm not sure about you.
I got much bigger targets. Hey, Brendan.
Sitting here staring at CNTX, guys. Wow, what a move. Lulu just popping back up. There's been 2 or 3 different volume alerts there at 415 around the pre-market high. Finally got through it there, so trying to get back higher here for Lulu.
All right, a couple things. We're going to update our stop. I just got out of Roblox here after a nice little, hey man, targets were targets, right? We got that 121 and change on the first half. We dumped the rest on the trail. You get a chance to see if it goes higher. If it doesn't, it comes back, right? So we ended up getting about 70-something cents on the second half of the position, and we made $3 and change on the first half of the position. So that pretty nice trade there on Roblox. We're waiting for, Peloton's now in the money. AI is still going to the downside, so we may actually end up taking a hit. There should be some support south of 35. That's what I'm banking on here for this long on AI. See if we can't rotate back up. If we can, we're going to end up taking a hit just south of 33.50, which is $1 from where we are. A couple other trades. Damn Costco. Remember, we were talking about 536. Costco went as high as 544. I still want to participate in Costco now, so I'm on the bid. We'll see if I can get a fill on the way back down. And Disney as well is taking off, was taking off north of 154.50. So if we can actually get that move back above 154.50, I'll be open to taking Disney. I just want to see some more trading done. I see how it's getting up there and backing down. I just want to see some more trading done. If we do get that opportunity, then definitely Disney is one of those stocks that's on the radar. Chewy backing off now. Okay, Chewy. Clearly, that 53 area that we were looking at is going to do something for us.
But we're pulling
It
back.
got as high as 53.42, 43. 53.43 is the actual high print. So, okay, so we were somewhat close in the range, but now we're backing away from that 53. So now we're going to extend that top end range to 53.50 and box it in between 53.50 and 50 even. So again, now we know what the high looks like. Let's see what the low looks like. If they take 50, I want to see some trading done. As long as we stay on the negative side of things, I'm down to going short on this. Below 50 with 53.50 as your stop. So one trade there. Another one that just popped off is AMD. Why did AMD pop off? On my alert here, I've got AMD. What is it breaking? AMD down? Oh, damn. Okay, yeah, it's breaking 137.50. It's trading 137.80 right now. So I'm looking for a short potentially below 137.50. Again, I'm going to wait to see how it trades. Obviously, it's backing away a little bit from that 50 level. But again, if we can get it to trade, then it's all good. So we'll just wait for this to kind of trade below 137.50. Why? That would get us below the low from yesterday and also clear some volume from a few days ago around that 139, 138 level. So 137.50 is the marker. Let's see if we get below and stay below.
Just going to try to pay for some shorts here in BFRI, which just popped up like $1.50, 30% move there from top to bottom on BFRI. I don't know if there's news or anything, or maybe just a continuation. The reversal is on, so Apple stays in the money, and the two shorts are working, but Tesla reloaded in 990 about to break. If 990 goes, I'm out of Tesla. Was that Brendan?
Yeah, not seeing anything, guys. I'm just going to mention that BFRI, not seeing anything yet. Remember, 3.9 million share float on BFRI. Broadcom, on the other hand, huge earnings beat as well. All-time highs here today for AVGO, another one making moves.
Yeah, so this is what I meant by BFRI. Remember, 990 is that stop. Tesla held 990, broke that 1,000 when we got the CPI print. If it takes that level out, I want no part of it. Apple, I don't mind holding the long because Apple's a different beast. Tesla has relative weakness in it, so I'm out of Tesla at 990. You saw me just get out of that one. You don't want to jump in front of a grenade and not have a bit of a plan. But BFRI, this is right now into the 650, which was a bit of a weekly resistance point. That's why I was sort of scrambling to get the shorts there. Not one that was on the radar, but that is a rejection, as you saw on the 15-minute chart, right at a key price area that I want to try and see if I can get in front of. I don't want to pay too much further than 25 for an initial entry if I can, and then see if I can't get some better shares up at like 35 or 40, but that's one I couldn't miss. Like the second someone said BFRI, I went to the 15-minute and was like, oh my goodness, it's right here right now at 650. And I got to find some locates, which we did have to pay for. Peloton 20 cents away from first target short. The reversal is back in the market. Apple is the long that's holding up here. Everything to the short obviously is going to work if you got some tops. BFRI going to cover some in front of 6 even if I can, and then I'll be shorting pops in front of 650 the entire way through. So what I mean by Apple being relatively strong, and why I guess it's the only one long that I'm left in here, is it's holding the top end of the range, right? It's doing that hold my beer moment. As you can see, the NASDAQ pulling back in here. Oh yeah, I've adjusted mine to the, if there's a slight price difference, I have that H contract up for 2022, so I don't mean to confuse everybody. I always switch over on the Friday so I don't forget on the Monday because I'm not trading the futures, I'm just watching them. But this is the NASDAQ pulling back in after that CPI pop. That's why I love the fact that Apple's holding up, at least for now, pretty strongly. Tesla, wow, huge reversal, and that's going to mean you're not going to get 40s on Lucid, which is where I would have thought the term would be on Lucid. Nah, it goes to 39, and then there's a flush already.
Yeah, reversal is the name of the game. Remember that Roblox trade that was up at 121 and change? I've gotten out, but now it's at 117. So you're seeing a lot of rotation across a lot of different names. From the positive to the negative, what is the futures doing? It's falling off as well. Top end of the range, 47.15 up top. That's where the range high is, and here we are fading off that 4,700. Keep in mind, I'm trading the December contract, right? So if this continues, I think if we can get this below 50, around 85-ish, and kind of stays down there, I want to see if we can get below this 86 area, actually. Yeah, so 85 is what I'm saying. If we get below there, I think you could start looking at some shorts here. There's an opportunity for it to still turn. I just want to avoid getting caught in the short as it turns. So I'm going to wait to see if we can get below 85. If it does, then I'll wait for a bounce up and I'll fade the bounce on the secondary move on the futures contract with the 47.15 stop. For now, though, we're just going to wait because the market is rotating. I'm still waiting for AMD around that 137.50. It's bouncing up now. It's at 138.50. AI is, again, this is the area to support. If this long is gonna work out, this is gonna be the trade, this is gonna be the area where it works out. There's clear downside pressure, so remains to be seen, I guess. And what's the other one? Oh, the other trade that I took a hit on, SoFi. Took the bottom of the range, so we're done with SoFi. It was like a 60-cent hit on SoFi. It's still going too. It's at 15.11, so close to 15 even. They took out that support, which was around 15.50. They took out around that support, which is around 15.30-ish, 20. And now here we are trading 15 even. So if 15 even goes, you're probably looking at 14.60 and change. The reason I wouldn't flip the trade though, I don't know where the stop is for the short, so I'm not going to bother going for it. But there is quite an aggressive move to the downside on SoFi. So just like the market as a whole, it looks like SoFi is following. AMD and some other names are snapping back up quite sharply. So maybe there's an opportunity to fade something at some point. I'm still looking at Costco potentially on the long side though. That could get dangerous for me though, given how Costco moves.
So one trade that should be sort of, oh wow, there it goes. NU I was just long on NU in front of that dollar mark, or that $10 mark, and then it immediately broke. So that broke to the downside. I actually ended up with a reversal to the short side there. AVCT, if you're watching that, this failed break on AVCT at 250, this is all kinds of pie in my face. I canceled my 206 bid, and I said I would readjust. I didn't. I just didn't get a bid in. I was going to readjust it to maybe go tighter to 2 even. It goes right down to 202, and we miss out on that trade all the way to 250, but it did fail break 250 here. You see the wick up, and you see the consolidation below. So for now, that is a classical failed break. I did get BFRI out in front of that $6 mark. I'll look for a reload, but that doesn't even seem like it's going to be coming back in anytime soon. 250, if it gets retaken here on AVCT, I think the bulls can be in charge, but below that price, it is what it is. Like, this is just, it's a failed break setup. I'm going to see if I can't go short in front of 250. I'm not giving it to the high of the day. I'll give it to the tighter stop because it's such a strong name at this particular range. Peloton, first target hit. So we'll go with that one. I don't know, because I'm on this page, man. That's why I hit that key. But here comes that 250 on ABCT. I do not want to hold through that price. Second it breaks, it's like I want to be out. There it is. It broke that 250 range. And there's my fill. I'm out.
Yeah, Brad's saying let's go because he's got something. What do you have, Brad?
NVIDIA.
He's got NVIDIA. That's what Pratt's trading.
NVIDIA bottom, take it.
All right, NVIDIA is what he's trading, and here we are waiting on Peloton. We were talking about Peloton holding that area, and it's holding that area, all right. It's working well north of 40. That resistance area is holding well. So what do you do? Is there a target for me? No. I want to see the lows get taken out. There's no reason for me to dump this trade just yet. Given the way I've priced them, given the way I'm looking at levels, I want to see the lows get taken out. So I'm targeting 39 to go. And if 39 goes, then I'll move the stops. But as long as we stay above 39, I'm not going to move on this. It has nothing to do with greed. It's just technically that's the way it's set up, right? You put a certain amount of risk on the table. You're looking for a certain type of movement. It might take a little bit longer than you would expect or hope. But at the same time, the setup is there. So if we're going to let it work, we've got to give it the opportunity to let it work, right? Through that low, we'll see how that plays out. DocuSign. Somebody was asking me, hey, what do you think about DocuSign? Thank you for bringing that stock up because I was looking for stocks to trade. And DocuSign, pretty good setup, I'd say. Nice little move here below 148, kind of consolidating here. Not just consolidation, but also a decent amount of support around that 148. We kept bouncing off of this. And so that brings in volume. So if we take it out, I want to participate in the short. So here I am going for the short as well. Futures bouncing now up 5 points from that last little 90 low. So here we are moving up. So maybe it brings the futures brings the stocks up just enough so I can actually take a fade on this just south of 148. Try to work with this area here on DocuSign. So I've got DocuSign, and I think another name that just popped off for me is Disney, which I'll talk about when we come back from Brendan.
IINN, when we spoke about yesterday, guys, just halted to the upside here, got back above 5 and halted on a volatility halt. So getting back into some levels here from yesterday for this one.
So ABCT, I actually didn't look to see if it continued to the upside because my stop was at that 50. Didn't want to give it to the high of the day at 55 on the 45 short. So give it like 5 or 6 cents. It is continuing. It's got this 265. Oracle did not print down to $89. That's a fugazi wick there. It's still above. Even on this pullback with the market coming back, Oracle is still above this $100 mark and looking like it wants to churn back to the downside. The only long that's been able to dig into and just hold with impunity is the Apple long, which I have taken some scalp outs, but I'm holding over half the position still, trying to get it to go. Oracle is showing some signs of relative strength. But if it does break down below that 100 and the market starts to come back in and it's to fail a break, it's just, this one could get interesting southbound. And I still sort of believe that's a trade that I can at least make a bit of a risk plan for that. Like if you go long here 101, go out at 100, I'm not sure you're wrong until it breaks 98.5 or 99 even, which makes it a bit of a tricky trade. I'll check back in on Peloton because I feel like this has gotten neglected a little bit here. It finally hit 39.50 and I got another bid. I'll still have half the position if we take out 39 because ultimately, if we take out, this is that level, 39. If this gets taken out, I think Peloton really runs to the downside. So yes, I'm willing to scalp some out because I'm going to take $1 on the stock. I'm going to take $1.50. It's a $40 stock. I'm always going to do that as a day trader. But if it extends, I want to expose myself to the notion that we can actually see like a monster drop through 39, 35, 36, 37. Levels like that certainly could get hit. And if the futures pull that reversal, I mean, Peloton, pick on the weakest one. We picked Peloton over Beyond Meat. Whoops, there you go. We picked Peloton over Beyond Meat. And obviously, that's still a daily chart. Obviously, this was the easier short. So as much as Peloton is working right now, I didn't like the volume on Beyond Meat. Heck, I guess it didn't matter. You just hammered the bid when it got taken out, and you're clean in the money $1.50. I think part of the reason why it moved that clean is because there was less liquidity in it, which can make trading trickier, but it is what it is. MRNA, thank you very much. Jennifer Schultz, Moderna headed to 250. It's not there yet, though. Oh, I mean, if it was there, I would probably know. Just have a chart up. But it's not quite there yet. It is headed there. It's at 245. It's still grinding higher. And I'd like to see it get to that 250 price before we actually put something on there. And yeah, the other one that we're still in is that BFRI, which popped down to $6. I got some out. Couldn't really continue through 580. A retest of that 650 area. I want to see it test, fail at that same price. If it fails, I want to add back in. If it breaks out the high of the day, I do not. It's pretty simple. It looks like it just failed there. So I'll quickly take some 50s and then see if we can't put a stop at 661. And if it breaks the high of the day, then I'm just going to quickly be out. So you wait for the top to show you some resistance, and then you saw me sort of jump back into the short. If it takes out and makes a fresh high, I'm going to be out of the trade. Otherwise, I'm going to try holding on to this one back down to those 25s, back down to those 15s, back down to the 6 even, guys. So BFRI, second entry for me. All
right, AMD. Nice little move. It bounced up, did its thing. Now it's back down towards 138. Just get back down there. Get back down below 137.50. I'll step in because what this now establishes for me is a stop that I can work with, and then also the fact that we got some buying done. So shorts could still be on the table on AMD as well as we come down through there. So AI, let's just quick updates on AI. AI flirting with 34. It's kind of in a downward trend. May not work out. Peloton, nice little move. Here we go, Peloton, getting through any support, that micro support that we could have had potentially there around that 39.50 area, towards that 39 even. So it seems like, you know what, Peloton wants to go, let it go, right? There's nothing else you can do. Futures turning around. At this point, looks like shorts could be now on the table for futures. We're going to wait for a little bit more, and if that's the case, we're going to try and range trade this short. So short somewhere around 90, north of 90 with a 47.15 stop, and then see if we can get it down into the 75, 70 area. Brendan?
Freyer Battery, which is a European listed company popping up here. Looks like their battery division announced a new EV battery partnership with Volkswagen. So a bit of a pop here for FREY. Thinly traded though, so heads up on that.
Oh, we'll go from Brendan into, oh my goodness, I thought I had my Brendan one set up, but whatever. I'll go timber action because I'm on that key. That's all I got. We'll go timber for BFRI. Remember we sort of talked about there what a failed break looks like. It got to that 650 mark. The second it pushed up here and showed any kind of a failure breaking out, trapping 650 longs, we jump back into the short. Same sort of plan as before, like we get out in front of 6. Now I want to hold on for dear life down to this range here. You had a consolidation, a break right at the open at 550. I think that is a fantastic area to target for and out. Even like now the market's pulling back in, even the Apple trade, like I just got a bid in front of 175. The only thing left is a pre-market low at 174.50. This is the only one I want to hold on to all the way down to the bottom, maybe even catch a consolidation. If this chip falls, we have the shorts to be able to cover it, but it's the only one that I kind of feel counter trend here has a chance to maybe bounce. While that's happening, I just missed Peloton, second target. I actually moved it up here because it was about to go to 39.10 and then held at 20. There was a buyer at 19 and 20, so I just put a bid at 21 just in case that buyer is there again. I don't want to miss out on that fill the next time it comes through. I'm not in AVCT, but it is back below 250. And just to come back over to Oracle, because the Hold My Beer stock is saying what pullback in the market? It's holding up at 103. So I'm not, look, like right now you're not seeing me trade Oracle because quite frankly, as far up as it is, I am surprised. I'm surprised that Oracle is not pulling back as the market falls down here and goes almost back to flat on the market, and Oracle is holding these highs. The relative strength in this is unbelievable. So, if I don't have an idea, I'm not going to force my way into an Oracle trade. But if you got this one to the long side, wow, is it ever strong.
Yeah. Yeah, if you have the right position on Oracle, you're doing just fine.
Hold it.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, if you don't have the right prices, and it seems like the right prices on Oracle would have been around that 100 or as close as possible to 100. That way you can actually manage it properly, because if you're priced anywhere else and you have to use your stop at 97, that's the stop I see. So then you have to think about risk factors and whatnot, because if you had close to now 100, you say, what, I'm risking $3, just over $3. Can I get $3? You did. Right off the open, you got almost like, what, $5.50? So you've already covered your risk just by being priced at 100. Now, if you step in at 102, let's just say you step in at 102, you got to take $5 in risk. Can you get it? Yeah, if it takes the highs, you can get it. But the way it's been trading, maybe if it breaks the low, I'll step in. Given how much action we're getting around this 100, I'd be open to fading or shorting the break of support than I am to kind of using the support to go long, especially with the market coming off. So for now, though, I am going to step aside from Oracle, but I am going to go back towards AMD, though. AMD now back towards its lows. 137.50 is what I'm looking at. Just maintain some negative sentiment here, and we're going to go short on AMD. And AI, flirting with 34, not doing a whole lot. And Piton is bouncing around that 39.50. Again, we're not going to touch Piton until it breaks 39. And that's kind of where it makes sense to start moving stops. But for the time being, we are going to have to leave Piton alone. Even though it's 86 cents in the money, we're going to have to leave it alone. I am looking at AMD, like I mentioned. Chewy is another name. We kept talking about this around that 53 marker. And Chewy just does not want to get above 53 and stay there, or it doesn't want to get below 50. So I'm kind of waiting for Chewy to kind of make up its mind here so I can actually take a shot on Chewy. At some point, there's got to be a trade there, and we're still waiting for Costco, but damn, Costco also bounced. They did not get close to my order at all.
Before we go to Brennan, I'm out of BFRI now because it did hit that 550. That came a heck of a lot faster than I anticipated. Apple just bounced off 175. I tried to take some shares more on the way back up. Just missed that one, so it's back to flat. Looks like it's going to be the long that I think is safe here today. It's already 10 o'clock. Time flies when you're having a wild and fun market. Brennan's got happening now for you.
Hey guys, yeah, busy morning, but positive one nevertheless. Here we go. Look at how things are shaping up right now. 0.5% there for the S&P, the Dow, 0.37, about the same for the Russell. Small caps pretty strong so far today. The NASDAQ is lagging. The composite, the 100, though 0.5% as well. Right across the board, we just went red here in Toronto. Bit of a dip today in some metal prices, energy prices back to the downside. So TSX is in negative territory. Lululemon, wanted to mention, did get a nice test of a significant level from yesterday there, and then just fell on its face once again, back towards day lows for Lulu after earnings. And yeah, Arun had a great idea there with Peloton as well. Similar kind of levels coming into play from yesterday, back to the downside for Piton. Guys, back over to you.
Yes, sir. And Brendan, I think Brendan you mentioned the IINN on the move there. It halted and then reopened, retested $6 here. If you go back to like the last time I made this parabolic move, like there was a wide range at the top. It was 6 to 650. So that would be kind of like your target area for resistance, and it is a wide area. So it's a $5.50 name for now, but you got to start thinking about risking 5 to 10%, and that's actually on the conservative end for every single trade you would make here. So if I'm going to short it, I got to find a place where I'd have a tighter stop, and that would be closer to the 6 to 650 range instead of in front of 6 even, and that just makes it almost a no-fly zone for me to try to short it, which I guess is a bit of a bullish sign. If it halts a second time, I guess that you can change that to be sure. That CNTX continues to, I'm going to sneeze, continues to Excuse me. Continues to flush. Yeah, I know, it's a good one. Continues to flush. I just got to fill 660. It's popping back up. If this gets through 690 here, I think it tests VWAP. Reload in front of VWAP, but the bigger level seems to be that 750 area. So that's a much better price. I would take 35s if I got them, but the reload seems a little bit better at that 750. Checking back in on Lucid for you. Yeah, I forget about $40. That reversal has already come in. It's now looking pretty weak. You're getting a decent consolidation here, and the market's trying to boom back to the upside. But like I've said, like probably about a half a dozen times here, if I'm sticking with something to the long trade, it's going to be Apple, the way that I'm seeing this market trade, and I'll go with that. SYTA is the other halt. It's not back open, but caution alert here, 700,000 in volume. Not a lot of liquidity on this one. So this is a dangerous one to trade. For day traders, we always talk about scalability and safety and liquidity. This one didn't have a lot of liquidity going into this halt. That's probably why it halted. It's indicating a pretty good reopen. 459. It's going to be a 10-minute halt. It's going to open up in less than a minute. 10% higher here at 459. So this one looks like it's going to be a crazy mover. Watch out if it gets back to $6 or $6.50 up here. That would be an obvious point of resistance. You've seen what happened the last time it got to these price ranges. It was a gorgeous short. I mean, I think we traded this. I don't know what my trades are not going to be showing up here, but this one opens up and approaches 5. I'll be sitting it out till it gets a little bit closer to the resistance you saw yesterday.
Yeah, I looked up at the chat. People getting on my case about potentially shorting AMD. Hey man, it doesn't matter if if the stock or if you like the stock. It's about the chart. If the chart says go short, you go short. It's one of those things. If you're an investor, then you probably shouldn't be watching a day trading show because we're going to be moving in and out of trades very quickly, right? So if the chart says short, I'm gonna go short and we'll let that trade play out. But for now, it does look like I want to wait for this 137.50 break until we get to that point. It's all about timing too, right? The last thing you want to do is short on a move where it's at support, because at that point it's going to bounce back in your face. So if we get below 137.50 and we get that set up, then great little setup for the short. If not, then support is established, confirms the area that we were looking at, and then you spin that trade around, maybe a long is in place. It's just one of those things where you look at the area, what do? Maybe there's a short, maybe there's a long. It all depends on how we play through that area. Right now, it's trying to figure itself out. It's trading at 138. Back and forth by about 50 cents in either direction, trying to figure itself out. And when it does, we will be in whichever direction it decides to go. Another name I'm keeping an eye on, Microsoft, is the top name. Wow, one of the big names here in the indexes too, in terms of weighting, up almost 1.8%, going north of 340. 340 is going to be a big round number with some stops, and it's also going to be at the top end range here. If I pull this back to 15, this is the 15-minute chart here. This is a multi-day breakout if we get this. This is going to be going back to late November, this 340. So breaking 340 is going to be huge on Microsoft, and we're not that far away. We're for about 50 cents away from taking Microsoft on the long side. Again, how I am with round numbers, I want to wait to see how we trade because the last thing you want to do is get blown up on stops. So we're going to be careful with that, but we are going to keep an eye on Microsoft as well. Potential long. Futures coming off a little bit. It's going to be one of those weird things where do I want to go long in one of the largest weights in the futures contract, even though it's setting up to the buy side while the futures are coming off a little bit. It makes me a little uneasy, but if the setup is there, like I said before, I follow the charts. Valeria?
Hey guys, we've got a super chat from Amir. Do you see Tesla under 982.50 today, guys? Tesla?
Yeah, I mean, for me, once it broke that 990 level, like I said, scalp in, get back in front of that 990. It's consolidating below that 990 area. And 980's been a support level in the past, but it did get cracked. Like I remember we were sort of talking about that 980. You can't really see it on the 15 minute. So I guess I'll have to go to the daily chart and zoom in so you can see why that was a significant price area before. You had that dip back in mid-November, and then we held this level on Tesla. So I understand sort of the sentiment of why you'd want to play. Like I've already taken my bones on Tesla, and I think this level here, if it does get the fresh low gets taken out, I don't know if there's as much validity. It's a low of the day here today, but you did have on the wipeout day, the support on the higher low was at 970. That feels like a little bit more of a significant level to try and make a bit of a bottom because on a flush day, that ended up being later in the day support. So I'd put more credence into that than anything else. 980 was one before. I just don't know that it's going to be much of anything here today. So like I said, it's going to be Apple for me, which as we speak, Apple breaking 15-minute chart, forget about that. Apple breaking back up. This is me catching some at 75. Then instead of getting in front of the bid, I let it bounce and then tried to get some on the way back up at 75, which I can cancel. And then I tried to get some as it broke back at 75. And the momentum was actually too good. I'll cancel that as well. Momentum was almost too good. But now we're back up to those highs. When it takes out 176, I've been consistently getting only fills out 176 in front of 176.50 and then trying to get some in front of 177. And then my mission is to then hold the rest of the trade essentially as long as I can, hopefully even all day long. So I don't think I want to change anything with Apple. Like, I know it's in the money, 50 cents, and I could be taking that. But for now, I'm just going to stick to the plan because this is the one long that it just feels like is going to be working for us in here today. That IINN, by the way, it opened back up and nothing to see here. Like, it didn't, like I told you guys, I liked it probably closer to that 6 to 650 area. It got to 590. I'm like, oh, it's going to get in that target zone. It just never did. And then you're going to see it flush. I would rather miss a short than get run over by a bad one. So, that's a case of where I'm not going to be in that short trade. There goes Apple, the strongest name that you can find out there.
Microsoft, too.
Yeah, and about the only long that I was willing to say, forget about it. We're going to hang on to this one. Now I can find the Brendan Lamb. It's on a different page now. Rob was adjusting it, and yes, it was an improvement, Rob. Thank you very much. But some of my graphics are on different pages, so it took me some time to find the Brendan Lamb. Like I said, Apple, the one to dig into today, as it does bounce off the top. If it breaks the high of the day, I'll get some out in front of. I got an offer here at 80. That's in front of 177, but I want to hold it just to see if we can't get this one to go all day long. Peloton is back to 40 even. So I just want to check back in on that trade as Peloton is on the NASDAQ, Neil. I want to check back in on that trade. It's not a huge difference in approach, myself and Arun, in terms of like how to get into it and holding it through. It's just that I like scalping out in front of the bottom because I like to be a little more active. It's just my style. That allows me, if it retakes 40 and then comes back in and fails in our target range here, and this is our target entry range, it's sort of right in the bottom end here. Like, you look at this here, that 40, 25, up to that 41. And then we can get more fills at that price, scalp them out in front of the low of the day, and then try to hold on to half the position. That allows me to maintain the short. If it never breaks the range, you're just sort of making money and piling it in through. Otherwise, if it breaks the low, will I have as many shares on? No, because I will have taken some out for $1.50, $2, and even like maybe in $1.25. But at the end of the day, if it never breaks that low of the day, I've made a little bit more money. And on top of that, if it ends up stopping me out, then I've mitigated some of that loss by taking profits on the way down. So that's just the approach I like. It doesn't mean there's not other ways to trade it. Arun's showing you his style. I'm showing you mine. Come on, Apple, break that high of the day. Comeback is on.
Talking about Apple breaking the high of the day, Microsoft took out 340. It wasn't even just like, oh, we're going to get past 340. It was like high of 340, 130 something. Here we are coming back into 340. Given the strength of this move and it not being translated into the futures, because Microsoft is one of the largest weights in these indexes, and the fact that the indexes want to keep going down, this might be an isolated move. It could be an overextended move. So in that case, what I want to do is I want to wait to see this trade. I want to see what you're going to do, or Microsoft's going to do, if it comes back below 340. So if you can get back below 340 and find some strength, and the futures can find a base, at that point I'd be more comfortable. But it does look like it wants to run on its own. It doesn't. It's not taking. Actually, you know what? I should be looking at the NASDAQ futures instead. Let me quickly look over the NASDAQ futures, because that is the largest weight there. You're not seeing the translation here between Microsoft and or Apple strength in the futures market, which is really weird given the strength that they have in these indexes. So we're going to keep an eye on this here, and maybe there might be a fade. I don't know. But if there's enough strength here, I go for the long, even though the futures aren't strong as I would hope. But if this actually fades out, that's my concern here, is the fact that we just took out stops by a lot, and then we just kind of completely fade out here. At that point, that's going to be a problem. I also picked up AVCT. I saw the chat talking about it, so I'm like, you know what? Let me take a look at the chart. How are we working on AVCT?
You get the long?
Yeah, I got the long, but I'm flat, right? I'm at 277, and what I'm working with here is we took out the pre-market high, which was around 270 even, then found strength on the move back down. I'll put up 50 cents in risk and see if we can actually take out 3 even. So we'll leave this alone. There's some strength here. We'll let it play itself out. If it fails, it fails. But the risk on this is not that high. It's 50 cents, so we'll let it work. AMD coming back in now. from that 139 towards that 138. But again, the support area is right below 138. We need that 137.50 cleared before the long or the short is on the table, or not on the table, the short gets taken. But for now, though, it's something I'm watching, but I'm not taking it just yet. So we're looking at AMD on the short side, Microsoft potentially on the long side, but I need some other things to fall into place, specifically the futures to base out. Also, Microsoft to find some decent support on a sell move through to 340. And looks like Piton has found a decent support here below 40. We bounced as low as what, 39.50? Do I get this out? I don't see a reason to get this out. I've got decent support or resistance here. I'm going to wait this one out and let it play. So I've got one short on Piton and 2 longs on AI and AVCT. Let's do a quick look on AI. What is AI doing? 34. Okay, we've been at this 34 for a while now, yeah. Finding a little base. The support is here. It's going to be between that 35 through 34 and change. This is the area that I'm looking for to help us in this long. If I get the support, we're going to get a nice little move back towards 36. If we end up taking it out, you could technically go short, but I don't know where the stop is on this, because if you take out 34, you lose the support level. Maybe you use 35 as your stop. I'm not sure. So it gets a little mix. It's a little confusing there. So I'm not going to bother taking this. Microsoft actually showing decent strength here, north of 340 now.
Yep.
Okay, maybe we are basing out. There may be a long there to work with on Microsoft and/or Apple.
Yeah, I mean, Apple's starting to, like, it's now holding above 176. So, I mean, I guess with that 340 break and the futures coming back. But I got to talk about AMC here because we'll talk about what moves. It wasn't on the radar, but it wasn't on the radar because there was so much to look at today, which you probably got an idea of looking at how many active stocks we're looking at. That were on the watch list, some that have popped up that weren't even on the list. But there's that setup that I'm always mentioning, and it's that like pop and fade trade. Now, if you were watching this, this is $30 at the top here. You have a gap and run higher, consolidation lower, pop, failed break of the high of the day, which added bonus, that's $29.75. It breaks the high, failed break at the high of the day, and then doesn't get through $30. So it also rejects the 30 level, meaning when you enter this trade at $29.50 or so, because I'm assuming by this wick, you're not getting $29.75. I mean, unless you got it on the way up. On the way back down, you're probably getting $29.50 if you're being reasonable. You now have a stop at $30 even. That's pretty sweet. So that's what we mean by that pop and fade trade. It also works in the other direction. It can be a failed break down and then the long through. Example of that would be New Bank, if you watch that at $10. I got stopped out of a long on the front end of that, and obviously should have re-entered when that was a failed break. AMC here, if it churns any lower, the recent bottom is still a ways away. You're going to see I actually played off of that bottom myself. But $25, it's not exactly 25, but it's close enough. That is your next area of support. The wick bottom on the higher low is right here, right now at $26.50. So if $26.50 goes, that would be sort of that last line before you get back into Friday's bottom at 25 even. AMC under tremendous pressure. Apple, Microsoft Microsoft taking out those highs. Apple getting very close to taking them again, where I'll take my next profit out. Brennan.
Another one under significant pressure. This grab, recent addition here to the NASDAQ grab, down again today after a big flush out yesterday, all the way down to 720 now. Just made a day low. You can see big volume coming back into grab, guys.
Ooh, grab, eh? I might grab some shares there. Oh, it's like
I forgot
this.
ISIG.
10 million shares.
Yeah, Moderna, so a lot is happening. I know everyone's talking about ISIG, and I'll get to in a second, but here is the 250 level on mRNA. So if you get that pop, it just got a break. It went to 251. Now you're coming back below, so I'm going to see if I can get into position. Gimme always gets, although I apparently... No. Oh, no, yeah, it just got popped in there. So 249.57, I mean 50s, whatever. The current high sits at 251.33. I understand it traded higher than that in the pre-market, but if I'm doing that same pop and failure trade, I want to give it to like a more even level. So I'll call it like 251.50 just to give it a little bit of room off of that high of the day. And the reason I like that setup, it's not just because it's a notion of it breaking that high and there's some people that go long and then it immediately has enough sellers to come back down through. Like, that's a part of it. The other part is you kind of know where your out's going to be. In that AMC one, okay, it's either the high of the day or it's just simply that $30. In this particular case, it's right back at the recent high it made, or you can give it to the even like I'm going to do here. So I have a bit of a structure I like. In this, now I'm risking $2 on Moderna, which is a very, very reasonable trade. You can get down to this support and take 3 or 4. That's almost 2 to 1. And VWAP is giving you 4 to 1, if not even 5 to 1. So you got to like that. Meanwhile, Apple's doing that Apple thing where it's doing, where it's just going to power up here. So I hit this before I got a fill because it was churning. And I'm like, oh, it's about to hit me, like 10 cents away. And of course, I probably jinxed it. So that's me hitting the power up key a little bit soon, 10 cents too early on Apple. If Apple turns and the high of the day is right here, then I certainly might have just jinxed it there. But I think we're going to get that fill. Apple looking pretty strong. And the market booming right now as well, Arun. The future is probably taking out that high in the NASDAQ that we hit when the CPI number came out.
Yeah, so remember, I was saying that if we get below 85, there could be potentially a support level or a short on the table here. I really wanted to see us get below 86. That's exactly where we spun around. So, I mean, like the areas that you see on the chart are there for you to kind of work with. And you need certain conditions to fall into place before you take that shot. Now, we were talking about AMD as well on the short side, right? Potential short below 137.50. There's a support base there. I just want to see how it trades. Well, we saw how it trades. There's a huge support base there. So clearly, the short is not the move to make on AMD just yet. But what that opens the door for is the flip side of the trade, which is the long. So be open to both sides of a trade, regardless of what you feel about it or how you feel about it. Now I'm thinking, you know what, AMD long could be in place. 139 even, 137 even stop, because I know that support around 138 is going to hold well. So maybe let's get a move towards 140, let it come back a little bit, put a bid down, see if you can't get a fill on a move back down towards 139 on AMD. I've also got a bid on Microsoft's, trying to get a fill, but Microsoft doesn't want to come enough, and I also don't want to go up higher from where I am to get this fill, just because the risk on this is somewhat larger. Futures turning back around towards 4,700, and a great super chat from Mark there asking, what do you guys do if you get a stock that doesn't go the way you predicted and you get a loss? Do you keep it going? Or do you keep it? Yeah, do you keep it going or accept the loss? Do you keep? I imagine you meant to say, do you keep going and accept the loss? Here's the thing: as a trader, as trading is, you're not going to win all the time. So you have to be mentally prepared that 4, 5 out of every trade you make is going to be wrong. Now, the sequence of those losses is what affects traders' mentalities. Let's just say I got 6 winners in a low, and then I had 6 winners and then 4 losers. I feel like because I had 6 winners in a row, I'm going to treat myself slightly different when I have those losses. Versus, let's say I go 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 wins, 2 losses. You're going to feel a little bit more inconsistent. Let's just say you started out with 4 losses. Now I imagine it's not going to be the same. The job of a trader is knowing that losses are coming. It's a matter of how are you going to handle those losses. They're coming, regardless of how good you are. Those losses will be on the board at some point. You're going to take a hit. You just got to be able to kind of prepare for that, mentally prepare for that, absorb it, meaning don't go too hard, too fast in terms of position sizing and risk. So you can actually absorb the hits as they come and just keep going. And slightly as you get better, you get bigger, and you just kind of go with it. Because losses are coming, and you can't avoid it. And a lot of traders at the beginning, they try to avoid losses because it's like a win or a lose situation, but it's part of the game. Losses are built into the game that you want to play. You just got to be able to handle those losses when they come. And it also depends that, you know, how they come will affect you differently. So be prepared for whether they're losses all in a row, if their losses spread out through your trades, or if you're just winning all the time, that at some point, mathematically speaking, based on the probabilities, just a straight up math, you're going to lose at some point. So mentally just prepare for that and just keep on going, really.
Yeah, we're going to go to Brennan in a quick second here, but I'm going to show you an example. You know I like Tesla long in the dip, and you know I liked Apple. And I said, after I got out of Tesla, have I tried to catch the bottom on Tesla again? No. If I had done it, would it have worked? Yes. But I held on to Apple. I reloaded Apple because that was the better one. So you've got to just accept it, that my read wasn't good on Tesla. It was much stronger on Apple, and work with what is working for you. Brendan always has it working in the vest. Let's go to the small cap recap.
Hey guys, yeah, busy morning in small cap land. Let's talk about a few of them moving around still. CNTX, probably the one I was mainly focused on today. This high over here on the daily chart, just below 850, and then 750 below that ends up being a bit of a base in the pre-market here. It tested it a couple times. So I really like this one. Couldn't, on the way into the open, it couldn't actually find much of a bid whatsoever. It even gave you a retest at the open there of 750, comes all the way down to 650. It's trying to hold this 650 area, which was a bit of a support zone from yesterday, but still on its way back to earth a little bit for CNTX. EFOI I mentioned right before the open. I didn't trade it. There was not enough of a bounce here for me to get involved. I mean, it's 4.5 million shares, so I hate chasing those, or 4.5 million share float, I should say. I hate chasing those little teeny tiny floats. I want to mention this IINN got in initially right at the open with the idea that this level from yesterday, 250 or 650, sorry, 550, 560, could be tested because it just couldn't whatsoever trade above that in the afternoon yesterday. So I'm going to need to see 450 for this trade to actually end up being a profitable one. It's about break even right now, but the plan was to get a test of that high level of the channel, right? So we're actually just trading inside of this channel from yesterday for IINN. Guys, back over to you.
We were before we left. Brendan mentioned grab. I was like, oh, let me go grab some shares. You can't short it, man. You got to pay for shorts. I'm still not paying it. I don't care what it is. I'm not doing it. So for anyone who's new, I have this thing about not paying for shorts. So I don't pay for shorts.
Never say never.
I mean, I've done it before, and I've broken that rule just because I'm like, oh, you know, this warrants a special exception. And then I find myself, and then I reminded myself why I put that rule in place for myself, is because when I pay for shorts, I end up focusing on the fact that I've already lost, like not lost, but I've already paid to play that game. And now I'm trying to make that back. I kind of mentally kind of throw myself off a little bit versus, oh, I want to trade this, I want to trade that. It's for us is just throw the order in. We already have shares in the short pool, right? So we just go get shares if we want to go short. If I want to short Microsoft right now, it's not going to be a problem. So for me, I have the freedom to kind of like, oh, maybe I want to short this, maybe I don't. But once I pay for it, I know that I paid for it. It's already, I can see it in the account. I'm like, damn. Okay, I got to try and make that back. And then I focus on that stock more than others, and I miss opportunities, and I end up over trading. So long story short, I don't pay for shorts. I have a reason for it, but I know Neil's waving his finger at me. It's just one of those rules I put in place for myself.
No, look, I have no issue with the rule because look, I paid for shorts on IINN thinking I might trade it, but I've been doing it enough that I know like I'm not going to force it. Like I don't have to take that position, knowing that that's not what sunk costs. You lose that money if you don't use it. Now, if it comes in, great. I'm going to. William, great look on AVCT. We did like we can't hold overnight positions, and I always sort of caution with the notion that if you're going to trade some of these stocks, you want to make sure that you have the ability to trade in the pre-market and be able to take some profit if it sells off. But that $2 level was the key. It set itself up for a break. Obviously, I said I preferred it if you had a 155 or 160. If you're in the money, it's a heck of a lot better looking than buying it at the top. But it's a monster breakout because there was air, like we were saying, there was air from there till about that $3 range. So good look there. Congratulations for you that you got that win. Everybody wants to see her. Miss V? No? Well, I mean,
What are you hearing?
I heard Miss V in my ear, and I'm like, we haven't seen Miss V in a while. I want to know what's going on. I actually would love to know what she thinks about Tesla, because that was a bit of a dog for me. But the one that's not necessarily a dog, well, okay, yeah, the dog is me consistently thinking that, like you guys know yesterday, every single stock, I'm like typing in NASDAQ, because I'm just NASDAQ.
Yeah.
Today, Peloton, it's like I'm typing in New York for Peloton.
Because you associate tech names with NASDAQ, which is technically what it's supposed to be, but the rules have changed so much, and the stocks are listing in different exchanges that you're like, oh, well, really? Oracle's a New York stock.
Do you know what the problem is? Like for me, typing in the symbols NASDAQ to New York, it's like a USB. No matter what, I'm going to do it wrong, and then I'm going to get the other one, I'm going to get me wrong again, and then I'll go back to what I originally thought, and then somehow it'll be right. I feel like that's what's happening. I have to adjust an order here on Peloton. That's why I was going to come to it. I really did think on this retest it was going to come back into 40, 50 to 41, and you'd be shorting a lower high in front of 41. That didn't happen, but I am going to go ahead and try and take some profit at the 39.50 that I did before. So I'm going to pop a bit in front of 39.50. That's where we got out the last time, and then try and reload that position. So here we go, we're ring ready. That one's working out pretty well. Moderna's starting to come down for us here. Look at that. Yeah, I know you're on the net. I trade Moderna a heck of a lot more than I trade Peloton. So I'm going to get that one right every single time. But first target, we're going to be able to get out that 250 fail break. Take a couple of bucks there. The rest, we're looking for a VWAP retrace. You guys know what that's all about. I don't know why I'm not hearing Prad celebrate, because it's one of those, I don't even have to look. I know Prad has this short. I know what's up with that. Because I know you're short. Look, Prad, here's the thing. If you do this long enough, and trade on the floor. Plus, I also risk manage the floor, so I spent some time like talking to traders and walking it through. And when you know someone has a setup that for them is their A minus or A plus, and it comes in, you just kind of know if Pratt didn't have this trade at some point on that failed break at 250, I'd be disappointed. That's what he looks for. That's his style of trading. You guys know it's my style of trading, so I'm going to have that one on when it gets there. So again, it's not to say that he had to have it. Like, I'm not going to. I probably would say something if you didn't have the trade, but at the end of the day, you have to trade your style is what I'm getting at. Like, there's certain things that you see. Like, if I saw a crazy double bottom, like if I pull up Palantir here, and the way the market is moving today, look, I don't know what I'm going to see because I haven't looked at Palantir. So I'm just, okay, so you see this in Palantir, 1875 bottom, churning back in through VWAP. In the 15-minute, like, look at this lower high that it put in. Like, if Sean's sitting next to me and not on vacation, heck, man, he might have remoted in and be long at 1880 right now, or 1980. So yeah, that's right, 1880 right now off of that bottom, looking at that cluster for a dip buy. Like, you just know these things because that's a setup for him. He looks to catch that kind of bottom. Would it have worked? Yes. Now that I've pointed out and he's not trading it, he's going to be like, crap, I could have had a Palantir winner and be celebrating it. And I'll do this for him. I'm not a Palantir investor, but he is. As I pull up the chart, there is Sean's dip buy. So it's knowing what you do best and staying in your lane. You can always look to expand and try to get better, but as you do that, do not sacrifice your A-plus setups. The worst thing any trader can do is try to, like, in the hunt to get better, in the hunt to find more things that they're going to make money on, is then all of a sudden miss out on their bread and butter in lieu of doing something new. Like, you have to have the humility to understand that if something is not right in your wheelhouse, it's okay for me to paper trade it or, miss out on it from time to time. That's fine. Like, you're developing that strategy. But your A-plus setups, things that get you paid, that put food on your table, you make sure you're hitting those every single day. You cannot miss those. If you miss them, I mean, I don't even have an analogy for it. If it's raining nickels, that means you weren't standing outside. That's the analogy.
If it's raining nickels, say that again.
I got that from Dashel. It's like, if it's raining nickels, you're gonna go inside? Nah, man, you're gonna set something up so you can
Hold
catch
on,
it.
no, wait, what? So you want to stand there as nickels are flying at you?
Look, man, it's an analogy. Like, I don't understand why you got to take it so
I'm
literally.
gonna go inside. I'm gonna wait for the dollar bills flying down, but
whatever.
I don't know about the nickels. I mean, that's free money, yes, but I feel like that's gonna be
It's
painful.
an analogy. It's not meant to be taken literally. I shouldn't be doing this because Arun's gonna like just do one of these and then I'll be out cold. Brennan, what's up, bud?
A little one moving here, guys. PTPI just popping up on positive news as well, back to 295, which came into play going back a month or so ago. We talked about this one 2 weeks ago, I want to say, for PTPI, another low float type of stock. It's 10:30. Let's get a check of how things in Europe are shaping up. 1 hour to go in the week over there. Miss V, what's up?
Hey guys, European markets are slightly down. Daimler trading in Germany is down more than 14% following the spin-off of Daimler Truck, which began trading today on Frankfurt Stock Exchange. Back to you.
Yeah, interesting look there. Was nicely higher initially for that spin-off today, but back to the downside a little bit. Guys, still holding on to gains here, though.
Yeah, I was reading on my train in. I was like reading something about the Daimler thing, and then I'm not gonna lie, I dozed off. And actually, my bus in because my train was canceled. Thank you, COVID. But one more target in front of that low of the day on Peloton. Haven't hit this one enough. I don't have the money that Sean has. So, I mean, if you guys want it, like, that's the best I can do. Arun's the one that has to hit the key.
Money.
I know you're still looking for the break of 39 even on Peloton. I'm going to get another leg out here and then still hold on to the rest of that one. And the other reason I'm going to hit that one, hit that key is, as we pull back, and instead of pulling away from the Apple chart, I'll just show you my futures chart. You'll notice when I'm off screen, it's all these black charts for you guys. But this is the NASDAQ pulling back in here a little bit. And then that's Apple saying, hold my beer. Who cares? We're going to go higher. And that's why you're sort of seeing me, dig in and hold on to the Apple trade all along while, not really trying to find too much on the others. And it's just, like I said, like, Tesla, would it have been a winner if I just dug in or continued to average into it? Yeah, probably, but I just didn't have the right read on Tesla. Once that sort of failed morning break of 1,000 and then the retest, once that didn't hold that 990 level, I didn't really have a structure that I liked. That 980, which we got a super chat for the 982 level, you were dead on about that. Dead to right, you had that bottom. I look back at it and said, the new support looks like 970. Well, is that right? Not really. I mean, 970 didn't break, so I could pretend that it was right, but it's not correct. So we stuck with Apple here. It's trying to break out at 177. Once the futures bounce, if the futures bounce from here and start retaking the high, well, Apple's already at the high. So I'm on the north side of 177 for my next out. Moderna is still working for us here, but it's not right down to VWAP just yet. I'm sitting on VWAP just ready to get filled here and try and take that nice little $7 winner off that 250 failed break. I was asked about Walmart. For a long-term trade, I like buying the weakness that Walmart has had here. I don't really see much of a trade for it here today outside of, I got to zoom out of this daily chart a little bit. There we go. Outside of just quickly showing you, I don't know why it's not loading. There we go. Thank you. I'm saying thank you to the chart. Outside of loving this 135 support that Walmart has here, I think buying in front of it is a great way to enter the trade. I mean, I've been long Walmart for longer than I can remember. Well, that's not really true, for a long time, but it's got great support at 135. For the day trade, however, it's relatively weak today. It's red on a green day. I think you're probably sitting this one out until it either breaks out at 140 or it gives you that support in front of 135. In the middle, great place to start a position on the long term, but for the day trade, the short term, you're kind of in a no man's land, and we don't like to trade in no man's land. Speaking of movers, I'm going to come back to CNTX. So last out was at 650. Here it comes roaring back. I'm doing nothing with it till it retests the failure price at the open, and that's right here, right now at 760. So patience. If you short here, meh. If you short here off VWAP, no good. I want where it failed at the open. That's right here, right now. I know where my out will be in that particular case. It's right up here at like a 760. You can give it a few pennies to 765 if you want. So just re-enter that trade. It's been a while, but we're back to CNTX. That was my pre-market short that just flushed, man. Like $1 move and then now right back another $1. Sometimes these penny stocks, well, it's a $7 stock, but small caps give you the best moves here. But you got to be patient. Make sure you trade your levels. Don't force your way into it. If you did here, you're basically just averaging into a bad short instead of trying to short the high.
All right, a couple trades. Okay, great on Peloton. Here it is at 39. Remember, we were in the money a decent bunch, and then it came all the way back, and then here we are finally getting to 39. That allows me to move the stop finally on this. It's $1.21 in the money on Peloton, and then if 39 breaks, we can probably set up another trade with a brand new stop as well. So I might just add to this position. There goes Peloton. 38.86 is your high. Let's pull this up on the main screen here. 38.84 is the low. What can I do with the stop? The stop can probably be north of 39.50. So I'm going to let it trade below 39. Make sure there's not going to be a snapback. In the event that it stays below, I'm going to go ahead and take another position here on Peloton and move the stop on the entire position to 39.50. And AMD, Brad just called that, also went off on my alert here. It's been all over the place. Remember, we were thinking short, and then it held support. I'm like, if it gets above 139.50 and stays, we can probably go for the long, and then it spun right around and went for the low. There's a trade here to be made, but I don't trust the stock and the way it's moving. So we're going to wait a little bit to let it settle down. If there's some buying left, let's get that out of the way before we step in on the short side on AMD. But it seems like that's the move that it wants to make. So we'll wait on that. AI is just creeping down. I think AI is going to be done here. AI, at least my long on AI is going to be done. That's $1.67 out right now. Good thing I made some money on Roblox earlier. But AI is going to be, looks like it's just going to be a complete bleed out. So we're going to walk away from this trade soon. I'll just let the stop go off and take me out. AVCT was another trade I had, and I just had to get out of this. This wasn't going anywhere. I had 277 long, and then I'm like, 280 is not going. And there's enough action here. It makes me worried that it'll snap back down. So I just got out, made a penny, I think. No, I don't even think I made a penny. I actually covered the cost of the trade by staying on 277 and getting the credit for the fill. And then we just walked away from this. I am surprisingly positive on AVCT, even though I got in and out at the same price. That's what you get with DMA access, guys. You're able to sit on a bunch of different ECNs, and when you want to get in on one that's cheaper than the other, cost control, right? It's going to be a little bit tougher for anyone who doesn't have that kind of access. For anyone who does have that, you have multiple ECNs to choose from. Like on the screen here, you have Arca, Edge, New York, BATS. They all cost different. So you can control the cost of your transaction just by going through different ECNs. So that's what I kind of did here. Got in on a cheap one, got out on a more expensive one. So I got paid to get filled on the more expensive one. So I made more money on the credit there, and we're waiting on futures. We just took out that 85 here. Okay.
Wow, what a turn.
Yeah, and yeah, it just went up to 98 and then kind of went back down. Now here we are below 88, but we snapped right back up. There's got to be a trade here at some point. I think we're just going to have to wait for this to kind of settle. And just like AMD, there's a trade to be made. I just don't know what it is, so I'm going to wait. And of course, Microsoft just on fire here. 341.39, went as high as 342.71. So there's trades. There's so many trades to be made, but this market needs to make a decision on what it wants to do. Otherwise, if the market doesn't decide or figure itself out, we just got to wait. I'm noticing Facebook also fell through that 328 area, so that's something to keep an eye on as well. Facebook, one of the other big names, or Facebook Meta platforms, one of the bigger weights in the indexes. Obviously not at the top like Microsoft and Apple is, but still one of the bigger weights in these indexes. So definitely keep an eye on this one as well as it kind of trades below 328. There could be a short there as well.
So I was gonna hit the congratulations to do it, but I'll do this one. I'll hit the walk on water. I can't hit the Bitcoin congratulations because we just failed a 50,000 break on Bitcoin. That's not good. It just popped up and sort of failed back through. But that's CNTX. Like we just finished, like yesterday, we just talked about this type of a wick, that kind of a failed break. And I was just mentioning being patient around a level like this. This short has been ridiculous. Like it gives you this level. I missed it at the open because at 9:30, you guys saw, like there was just a heck of a lot going on at 9:30 to catch the CNTX, which I was already in. So adding to that position is not going to happen. And that's the opportunity cost, right? Like if you're trading one symbol and one symbol alone on CNTX, you are absolutely getting more shares here, 100%. Like you've got to. That's what the setup is. But if you're trading 5 or 6 and you're in position on it and you're holding it down through, then maybe you're not going to catch it. But later on in the session, when things have calmed down, we're going to get that 750 immediately back down through VWAP. So even faster than I anticipated, we're taking profit on that name. Moderna, by the way, though, that's holding up. It bounced shy of VWAP. And actually, as VWAP adjusts, I'm going to cancel my bid, maybe adjust this one in real time. And I'll zoom in. Like these days, like I don't know, the scaling, the pre-market levels are ridiculous here. So it actually held 245. I still think we have a decent chance to get back down into VWAP, and that is still my target. But the relative weakness cannot be ignored here. Sorry, I guess the relative strength here at 245 can't be ignored on Moderna. I don't like the reload for that reason. So I'm going to stay away from reloading the position. One that I have not looked at. Wow, for considering how ridiculously good the short was on GameStop yesterday. So not have looked at it today is a bit of a surprise for me. I can't complain because Peloton's great. Like I said, the CNTX has been like a God mode short, and Apple long has been good for me. But GameStop, man, 150 on the bottom here. Yeah. And I mean, if you look at yesterday's action, that was that 150 level that it managed to hold. If you look at the daily chart, oh my goodness, like down here, like you have a 145 higher low, so that's almost like $5 clean from 150 to 145. Can't believe we're going to see this on GameStop 150. Thanks for pointing it out in the chat. We're sending you to Brendan for Sector Watch. It's quite a mixed board today, it seems.
Still positive for the overall market. Let's have a look at why. 0.4 right now for the S&P. We had a number of big moves because of earnings. That's Oracle right there, if you're wondering. There's Broadcom, AVGO, we mentioned 9% move for Broadcom, and it's actually off the highs there. So tech stocks are leading, which is good to see. They have been a little bit of laggards all week long. So back to the upside for some of the tech names anyways. Cisco having a nice day, 2.5%. That's Microsoft, 2.4% to the upside as well. Down here in the healthcare group, Moderna with that, it's funny, they can get the COVID vaccine right, but they can't do a flu vaccine, apparently. The results for the flu vaccine, not great for Moderna. So 9% to the downside there for Moderna today. Etsy, 2.3. Best Buy, 1.6. DLTR, positive today. That's Ford. We were talking about it early on this morning. 3%. GM right under it, being dragged along with it. Over here, another earnings name, Costco, 4.5%. Great looking chart for Costco today. Otherwise, pretty flat really across the board. These are the airlines. Some of the airlines under pressure. Once again, I did notice some of the cruise lines trying to get back to positive territory, or at least putting in a decent sized bounce. So some of the travel names under pressure once again. Goldman Sachs, 1.4% I just saw there. So banks are under pressure as well. Morgan Stanley right beside it. 0.36, guys, for the overall market. Back to you.
Thank you there, Brendan. We actually got a really cool question from IT Symmetry asking what are our education backgrounds for trading. So, I mean, you're probably I'm going to give you a different answer, but I'll give you my formal education I was 1 year in accounting. That did look just. Sometimes you really know what you don't want to do. And in first year accounting for me at university really taught me that. And then I went to economics. I have an economics degree. That's not where I got my trading background. So for me, I learned trading by being on a day trade the world floor. So I came in, Sean was on the floor. There's another couple of traders that I grew with. One of I hope is coming to our poker night tonight, which we're having in the office. Should be a lot of fun. And we learned from each other. And the other thing that I've done, and Sean has done as well, is risk manage, because we've owned our own floor. We've managed this floor and our own floor as well. And I'll give an example of Arun is the type of trader when I was risk managing where I never actually worried about Arun's risk. I kind of didn't have to pay too much attention. I probably shouldn't be saying that, but I didn't have to pay too much attention to it. But we used to have maybe monthly or definitely quarterly, but monthly talks going over strategy, how it was going and how he was adjusting it. And because I'm not a buy and hold all day type of guy or a futures trader, I would learn a heck of a lot of his style of risk management and adapt it to my own. And that's how a lot of traders learn. And I think that's why this program works, because you're getting the perspective of different traders. And it's about just their thought process in a particular trade or a particular setup is going to give you, whether you even realize it or not, it's going to help you benefit in your trading. It's not about you have to take the same Apple long I have, you have to take the same C3I or whatever trade it might be that Arun has or futures trade. It's more about what is the thought process, what can I learn from that, how does it help me in my own trades? And from that, I just got it in the ear. Finally, we're going to Miss V. We're overdue.
Hey Neil, it's like o'clock, guys. I know you're busy trading, but we really need your help. We have more than 5,000 people watching and just 1,200 likes. So please find a second, smash the like button, and support the community. I hope you're having a great day, team. Back to you, Neil.
So thank you very much, Ms. V. We need to get Ms. V in there. I just want to say, team PJCT. I'm not saying anything bad about accounting. I didn't know, it's just not something I wanted to do at the end of the day. And you kind of have a feel for it. I kind of didn't want that regular 9 to 5. And I think that's what it was for. I liked reading economics books, oddly enough. And I think part of that's because if anybody who read Isaac Asimov when they were younger and you read the Foundation series, you'll get why a lot of those people tend to gravitate towards economics and that line of thinking, because they like that abstract thought. But again, you have to find what works for you. And accounting is a good profession. I'm not trying to give that impression at all, guys. But obviously, there's still some movement in the markets. I know in 15 minutes, we're heading over to Trader Pratt and Miss V. 99.9% sure and now 100% sure, because I know this Moderna trade, we'll get to see how Pratt did. You guys will get to see how Pratt did with it here. But like I said, I'm not going to be averaging back into it. If it breaks back out, I'm going to be out of the trade. I don't have my target in at VWAP. I think now at this time of day, it's closer to lunch. I would let it drop into this level down around VWAP and then make a judgment call, because as the market, look,
falling off.
you know what I mean? I went to go all the way over to the futures. This is the NASDAQ continuing to fall off here. This is the ES continuing to break down. So that's a situation where, you kind of pull back some of my bid targets. And when it gets to that target range, you play it by ear, see if the market's still cratering, because you want to take advantage, right? Sometimes you have a bank error in your favor situation where you have a good short on and then the market's way weaker than you anticipated. So why would you stick to your same bid targets? You can start drawing those back. Hold on to your winners, right? You might adjust your targets for your target outs for your long positions. As an example of that will be Apple here, where look, Apple's still oddly enough somehow still in the money, even with the market pulling back. So my last entry in Apple was in front of 75, so that's still in the money. Now I might adjust here and say, okay, well, as the market comes down, if we bounce off, if we break the view up, I should say, maybe I don't reload at 175. If I hadn't maybe taken this, if I hadn't gotten this last fill, I'd probably consider getting more shares out if I got 176.50. Because I have, and I'm only down to a third left of the Apple position, I don't really have to worry about that. I've already taken my profits. I'm not going to make an adjustment, but you could. That's certainly something that you could do at this particular time. That CNTX, which we're also into the short side, bouncing, so still a higher low. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this 675 bid. I mean, if it flushes from here, it fails the same price. If it flushes through the 680 level, probably testing 650. So it would make more sense in this case to have my bid in front of 650 somewhere, right back down where we got it last time in front of 660. So I'm going to adjust that bid as well. And that's all I'm really doing at this particular time, managing the positions we have, looking for some of those runners. GameStop just resisted that 150 level, I noticed. So there won't be a 150 breakdown just yet. Still obviously weak, but GameStop caught a bid off that key 150 level. As we send you to Brendan.
All right, thanks, guys. Yeah, Justin Kozach, Day Trade the World marketing guy, back with us once again to give us a look at a few headlines we're keeping our eye on today. Justin, good to see you as always. It is a busy day. I just found a very interesting chart to kind of support this first story. Why don't you tee it up and then we can show it?
Right. So the SEC chief Gensler is looking for some new rules to kind of level the playing field around SPACs. We've been reading, certainly hearing a lot about those. I think this is probably the fourth time this week that we've talked about SPACs on the show. So they are, SPACs rule everything around the stock market, it seems. The SPACs also come with a little bit of controversy too. Certainly the DWAC is being DWAC is the deal between DWAC and Trump's new social media company are being looked at, as well as Lucid also being subpoenaed by the SEC related to some documents for their merger with Churchill. So the good and the bad, it seems.
Yeah, I wanted to show this just to kind of emphasize the need maybe for a little bit of a review. You can't see because of the lower third there. If I scroll this up, there we go. Thanks, guys. 498 SPACs. This is as of October 28th of this year. So 498 SPACs have come to market so far this year. That's versus 248 last year. Look at 2019, 59. So in 2 years, we've gone from 59 to almost 500. I would say there's a need for some review here.
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about this earlier this week, that at what point, with all these SPACs being announced, at what point does the SEC step in and say, we need to look at this instrument, make sure that there's nothing nefarious going on, and ensure that we have all the information that we need, and that there's no misappropriation being done here. And if you look at the amount of money that's been raised, we're looking at 166 billion in 2021 of SPAC money being raised versus only 73 in 2020. So well over 100% year-over-year increase. And maybe this new regulation certainly will cool the market, or if the regulations are appealing enough. Maybe the increase in popularity in SPACs will continue to go up in 2022.
Yeah, more to come on the SPAC front, as we don't like to say, but have to, unfortunately. Spotify, not really doing a heck of a lot today, but Tinder teaming up with Spotify?
Yeah, it's swiping right. Is it swipe right, swipe left? It's been
I wouldn't know, Justin. I wouldn't know.
They're swiping in some direction. This isn't the first time that Tinder and Spotify have teamed up. They worked together in 2016 to launch an anthem feature, but this feature that they launched today gives users the opportunity to hear a 30-second preview of a potential match's chosen song while checking out their profile. So you can check out their profiles and listen to music at the same time. So it's sort of an interesting partnership, and one that also I think works really well. You're already on your phone anyways, so why not listen to some music while meeting your soulmate, or trying to? I
guess a cool idea. Obviously, if you don't have the same tastes in music, why bother, right? WhatsApp. We talked yesterday about this story a little bit. WhatsApp and launching a new cryptocurrency feature in the U.S. only. So it is just the U.S. market. But tell us about that.
Right. So they've launched this pilot that allows you to send and receive money via chat using cryptocurrency. This is all kind of powered by the Novi wallet. We talked about the head of Novi is leaving the company. The basic idea here: no fees for sending or receiving money, no limits on payments. No fees for keeping a balance. So all this is being done by Pax dollars, which is that stable coin that's kind of linked to the US dollar. So, and that's all being issued by Paxos. So kind of an interesting idea for sure. You know, you're able to send money through, in some countries at least, you're able to send money through WhatsApp through not MSN. What's the other one? Facebook Messenger. That's it. Being able to send money through Facebook Messenger. So this is just kind of an extension of that. Interesting to see how there's no limits on how often payments can be made. So hopefully they'll be looking at this and seeing maybe we should keep an eye on this, make sure there's no money laundering or any kind of weird activity here. So.
Justin, we are obviously both of the same vintage, because I know exactly what you were referring to there with MSN Messenger. Remember those days? Good stuff, as always. Justin Kozach at Trader TV Justin on Twitter. Check him out. Let him know what you would like to hear more about. Thanks, Justin. We'll see you again this afternoon.
Thanks, Brendan.
Guys.
MSN Messenger.
I
remember
know
that. I remember that.
Oh, of course we both know that. But that is taking it back, way back into time. I'll answer the question here as well. James from Singapore. Congratulations, welcome from Singapore. There, we'll give you a fist bump for asking the question. Like, and we get this a lot. Like, we'll get options questions. It's like, look, we're trading the equity here, and I know both Arun and I, when looking at Peloton, there's a very big difference. If you look at this chart on the daily, there's a big difference between sort of shorting the pop and then shorting it on a break of the low down here, right? Like, it's just, the risk to reward is vastly different. Like, you'd have to be swinging that, looking for, back to the daily chart, looking for a real move. I mean, you're now talking back into like these mid-April, May levels from 2020 here. So for us, like, it's a day trade. That's where I put the bones in. That's where we like it. That's where we see those setups. That's where we think it shouldn't have buying strength through there fundamentally and on any level. And obviously it's going to work out. I just, like you said, can't really endorse that breakdown trade from here. But holding on to a short in the money is different than sort of getting into a position at that particular time. The one short that's maybe going to stop. We'll see what happens. It hasn't stopped out yet. But Moderna, like I said, like, just showing some signs of strength. It bounced off that 245, didn't get to VWAP. Now it's retesting the high. I said I didn't want to reload, and so I'm not going to reload for that reason. It's either going to pop down into VWAP and give me my out, or it's going to stop me out here, and then I still have a winning trade because we took that profit in front of 47. So we took a couple of bucks on it. We can't really lose more than $2 unless my stop doesn't hit for some reason. So Moderna could come out for me, hanging on for dear life in Peloton, hanging on to that Apple long for dear life as well, and that CNTX, and it just continues to fall. Like, it's rejected the 750, 760 area now twice, hard at the open, and then when we got the reversal here at 1030, just looking for the low of the day now. That's another a nice win for you. This one's giving you like $1 clean twice. Now, I'm scalping it because that's the style, but what a good one CNTX has been. Moderna, I guess I'm stopping out here. Means that when we go over to the midday show, hopefully Prad did a little bit better. If he was more aggressive getting out of Moderna, then he's done better than me for sure.
All right, Peloton. Hey, this is what we were looking for, right? Even when we took that short and bounced back, let's get those 39s broken. 39 is broken. Now we're trying to get some more, but I'm not going to step down. This is $1.81 in the money. We're going to let it be. And Prad is happy about something. We'll find out when you guys go to his show later. But Peloton being down, great. It's just a management issue now, right? We just got to figure out how we're going to move the stops. I know where it is. It's going to be 39.50. I know I want to get some fills in front of 39 as well. So we're going to let that be, let it work. And I just saw you guys put it in the chat. I'm like, just twist that knife a little bit harder, huh? AVCT. Oh, 277 got it out flat. Here it goes north of.
Did it go to 3?
You got what? It went through 3. Yeah, 313 is the high. Now it's back at 290 and change. But damn, that would have been a nice little winner. But again, congratulations to William, Adventure Dog, making a ton of money on that hold overnight. But for intraday trading, it is quite slow, I guess, unless you're willing to hold on to this. This seems like it's a swing trading stock more than it is a day trading stock, at least at these price points. I'm sure if it gets a little bit pricier, then you're going to see that change a little bit. But for now, it does look like AVCT is kind of trying to figure itself out around 3. We also picked up a short in Facebook. We talked, our Meta platforms. We talked about this. We talked about why is the chart not changing? Facebook, Meta. Oh, I'm going to keep saying that all the time now. Meta platforms here, just below 328. A nice little break through that 330 support point, 330, 329-ish support point. So I am looking for some hesitation and some resistance on the way back. Futures basing out, which concerns me a little bit, just because again, Facebook is or Meta is part of the index and it has a decent. It's in the top 10. I know that. I don't know if it's in the top 5, but I know it's in the top 10 in terms of weight in the NASDAQ index. So it does have some say in how this NASDAQ market wants to go, or the NASDAQ index wants to go. So we're going to look for the short here. We've got the short. We're going to look for some resistance to hold through this 330. A couple of alerts that have gone off. Roku went off below 232, so I'm waiting to see if I can actually take a short on Roku and AMD. Damn AMD and that 37 level, 137 and change. It keeps going back, keeps bouncing. I think we're going to have to just kind of put a pause on AMD. We're going to have to leave it alone, let it trade a little bit before I kind of make a decision on what to do because it is all over the place. But Roku is looking a lot better in terms of how it's trading. So 232 break. We've already gotten below it. I'm just waiting to see a little bit more trading before I go for the short. There could be a nice little trade there. Issue with Roku on the short side, though, the best stop for this, or the stop that actually makes sense, because keep in mind, when you put a stop, you want to put it in a location where if it gets to that price, you were wrong. Not because you don't want to risk too much or because you don't want to lose too much money. I personally feel like that's just the wrong way to go about putting stops. It's got to be in the right location, because if the stock is going to go against you, let it go against you and prove you that your trade is wrong, not just losing money for the sake of losing money. So I think the stop on this is north of 240, which is about $8. So do you have the downside space? Yeah, you do. So I'll take the risk on that short if I need to, when I need to, below 232 on Roku. And in the meantime, we're gonna go to Valeria.
Hey guys, I hope you're having a great Friday morning. Thank you for all the kind words on the super chat. Special shout out to William H. Adventure Dog for your super chat. And of course, thank you for 1,700 likes. We appreciate your support so much. Please join me and Prad now to keep trading. And happy National Lodger Day, everyone.
Lodger.
Randy's excited about it, and you know what, Randy, get yourself a cold one, man. Someone hit the hold my beer, but as we probably told you guys, there were some issues with, I don't know what Arun does to Sean's PC, but every time when Arun fills in for one of us, and particularly Sean, there's always some kind of an issue. But Randy got him up and going with like a couple of minutes to go, so I'm glad, because obviously we love his insights. So Randy deserves a cold one there, of course. As always, you guys know, we're at 11 o'clock. Drink responsibly if you do, obviously. It goes without saying. Lots moving here. Apple back at VWAP. Prad, I know he happened to have AMD. I actually guessed that it was NVIDIA, because I had an idea that it was maybe one of the chip makers that were moving to the downside that he had a short on. But you guys are going to find out what he's doing. We'll be back. I'll see you again if I can get everyone to do trade of the day. Probably not. We'll be back at 2 o'clock. But for now, head on over to Trader Prad and Miss V. Go get them.
Yo, welcome to Friday. I'm your host, Trader Pratt. This is the beautiful Miss V.
Hey guys, welcome back everyone. Happy Friday to you. Please be active on the chat as usual. Smash the like button and let's dive into the markets. How are your trading day going, Prad?
Something somewhat like the market, up and down, up and down. I'm just, still in vacation mode, not really doing any real trading.